We'd like to greet our colleagues. I would like to call this budget briefing of the Department of the Interior and Local Government and its attached agencies to order. We'd like to greet our colleagues, Vice Chair Cynthia Villar, Vice Chair Aini Marcos, Vice Chair Risa Ontivero, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Francis Tolentino, Senator Bato de la Rosa, former head of the PNP. I hope I didn't miss any of our colleagues. I'm looking at the screen. And of course, to our Secretary Anyo, nice to see you up and about. Kayo lang po ang record-setting, 2 beses po na COVID. And the USECs, undersecretaries. Maybe we'll turn it over to the committee secretary who has a complete list of the dignitaries and resource persons present from all the different agencies. Are we ready to acknowledge our guests, ComSec?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Please.
We would like to acknowledge the presence of our resource persons from Secretary Eduardo M. Año, DILG, Secretary Said Damen, Paranungan, from National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, Vice Chair Rogelio Casurao, Napolcom, ASEC Rosque Calacat, Community Participation and Barangay Affairs, ASEC Alexander Macario, Public Safety and Security, President Ricardo De Leon of Philippine Public Safety College, Director Telma Vecina, Executive Director of Local Government Academy, Chief Superintendent Jesus P. Fernandez, Bureau of Fire Protection, Commissioner Paul Anthony Pangilinan, National Youth Commission, Jail Director Alan S. Iral, Chief, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, Chairperson Sandra Montano, Philippine Commission on Women, and Police General Camilo Pascolan, Chief PNP. We would also like to acknowledge all regional directors and officers of the DILG and its attached agency present in this proceeding. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'd like to also acknowledge the presence of Minority Leader Frank Drilon. And I was told Senator Bongo was also logged in, Vice Chair, also Vice Chair of this committee. I'd like to turn it over to the Senator Bong Revilla is also with us. Good morning, gentlemen. We'll observe an order that I adopted from Vice Chair Pia Cayetano, where she lets the chair of the committee handling the department go first. So I'll give, if it's all right with our colleagues, after the presentation of the DILG and the various agencies, I'll give the floor first to Senator Bato, if that's all right, and then we'll follow the order of the login. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honors. We'll turn it over now to Secretary Anyo. Good morning to all the good men and women of the department. Good morning, Secretary Anyo. You can go ahead with all the presentations of the different of the department and the different agencies, sir, para dire-diretso na ho tayo.
Thank you po, Mr. Chairman, Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara, the Chairperson of the Committee on Finance, other honorable members of the Senate, DILG Undersecretary, Assistant Secretaries present, Head of Attached Agencies, Bureau Service Directors and Regional Directors present. Ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po. I thank the distinguished members of the Senate Committee on Finance led by Senator Sani Angara for this opportunity to present and discuss the proposed budget of the Department of the Interior Local Government for fiscal year 2021. I appreciate the body for standing shoulder to shoulder with us in our nation-building initiatives. Indeed, the department, together with its attached agencies, have fueled the country's drive to empower peaceful, safer, and more progressive communities by fighting corruption, crimes, and terrorism, ensuring safety and boosting grounds of good governance. Pero batid po namin sa DILG na hindi kang maisakatuparan at mapagtagumpayan ang mga planong aming inilatag kung wala inyong buong suporta at tulong. So may I give the floor to DILG Undersecretary Bernardo Florese to lay down the roadmap of the DILG for the coming year in our budget presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. To the Honorable Chair and members of the Senate Committee on Finance, a pleasant day to everyone. It is my privilege to present to you today the proposed budget of the Department of the Interior and Local Government for fiscal year 2021 as reflected in the National Expenditure Program. For next year, the department will step up its efforts to ensure the peace and order of our communities, safety of our people, and responsiveness and resiliency of our local government units, especially in this period of the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the National Expenditure Program, the DILG has a budget of 244.30 billion, 2% higher than our current appropriation of 239.8 billion. The breakdown of said budget is shown on the next slide. For next year, the Office of the Secretary and Local Government Academy will have a smaller budget compared with the 2020 budget level, while the rest of the attached agencies will get an increase of from 1 to 10%. A huge chunk of the DILG's budget will be for personal services at 86%, followed by maintenance and other operating expenses at 12%, while 2% is allotted for capital outlay. Shown on this slide are the budget of each agencies per expense class. The highlights of our 2021 budget per expense class are as follows. For personal services, bulk of the allotment will be for the pay and allowances of our uniformed personnel, filling up of unfilled positions for our uniformed and non-uniformed personnel, and creation of new police, fire, and jail officer positions to improve the fill-up rate of our tri-bureaus. For MOE, bulk of the budget will be for the provision of subsistence and medicine allowance to persons deprived of liberty under the custody of the BJMP, implementation of 21 locally funded projects for the development of locally government units, rice subsidy for PNP, BFP, and BJMP uniformed personnel, conduct fire safety inspections, operation and maintenance of existing stations, facilities, and equipage of the PNP, BFP, and BJMP, and per capita cost of the new PNP recruits. On the other hand, the capital outlay will be used for the construction of essential infrastructures and acquisition of critical equipage of the PNP, BFP, and BJP. At this point, I will present to you the highlight of the budget of each of the agencies under the DILG. For the Office of the Secretary, our budget shall be used to sustain our drive for good local governance that include aiding local government units to become more resilient in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, more capable of contributing to the success of national government initiatives, such as the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program, and more accountable in the preparation for full devolution as an offshoot of the Supreme Court's Mandanas ruling. Provision of incentive to high-performing LGUs, deepening citizens' engagement, setting up anti-corruption initiatives to exact greater accountability among local chief executives. Harnessing local peace and order councils, lupong tagapamayapa, and local anti-drug abuse councils in the drive for community peace and order, and improving LGU performance in the clean up drive and rehabilitation of Manila Bay. We shall also put premium on the development and enhancement of our internal systems under MITHI to effectively operate in the new normal. In keeping with the whole of nation approach in solving the country's lingering problems, the DILG will continue to capacitate and bring peace and development to LGUs and barangays that have long been under the influence of threat of the communist terrorist groups, address and eventually eradicate the prevalence of illegal drugs in the country, and work towards hastening the dispensation of justice in partnership with the Supreme Court and the Department of Justice. For the Bureau of Fire Protection, its 2021 budget shall be used to recruit 2,000 fire officers to achieve the fireman-to-population ratio of 1:3,360, construct 55 fire stations, procure 64 fire trucks and 458 self-contained breathing apparatus that will increase the BFP's fill-up rate and address the safety of our responding firemen and women. Scale up the conduct of fire safety inspections and fire prevention campaigns for safer establishments and communities. For the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, its 2021 budget shall be used for the provision of food and medical subsistence allowance for the more than 180,000 projected persons deprived of liberty, and construction of perimeter fences with catwalks in 8 jails, and recruitment of 2,000 jail officers to improve the Bureau's custodial capacity, and procurement of 14 prisoners' vans, 1,068 short firearms, and 1,505 handcuffs. For the Local Government Academy, it will continue the provision of relevant and timely capacity building and development interventions to local chief executives, local functionaries, and even the DILG's own officials and personnel on the numerous areas and facets of governance and administration. For the National Police Commission, it will continue the supervision of the Philippine National Police through investigation of police anomalies and irregularities, payment of police benefits, and administration of police entrance examination. For the PNP, its 2021 budget shall be used for, among others, the recruitment of additional 1,000 patrolmen and patrol women that will help it reach the ideal police-to-population ratio of 1:500. Construction of 14 police stations, procurement of 550 motor vehicles, 5,500 short firearms, and 10,000 long firearms to improve police visibility, mobility, and response. It shall also enable the PNP to contribute to the convergence initiatives such as the illegal drugs drive and the Manila Bay cleanup. The Philippine Public Safety College shall continue the professionalization of the uniformed personnel through the conduct of specialized classes and enhancement of learning curriculums to make them responsive to existing and emerging challenges in the peace and order and public safety fronts. Through the National Commission for Muslim Filipinos, we shall continue with the provision of sociocultural, economic, and social protection programs for Muslim Filipinos to improve their lot. Through the National Youth Commission, we will empower the youth to actively take part in good governance initiatives, including voters' education. Through the Philippine Commission on Women, we will ensure that national and local government policies, plans, and programs are gender responsive and geared towards gender development. Given that we will be working in a new normal environment, we shall need to make use of ICT and other communication infrastructure in order to effectively perform our mandate. Hence, part of our proposal is the upgrading of our information systems and ICT infrastructures through the MITHI program. This will ensure that we will continue to be efficient, effective, accessible, and responsive to the needs of our clients and stakeholders during these difficult times. Notwithstanding the uncertainties of our times, we assure you that the DILG family will continue to perform its mandate of helping our LGUs and keeping our communities peaceful and orderly for all our people. At this point, let me thank the Chair and members of the committee for the opportunity to present before you the DILG budget for 2021 per the National Expenditure Program. We are now ready to answer questions or clarifications about our budget proposal. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, Yusek. Let's do all the agencies first, with the indulgence of our colleagues para isahan na yung round of questions. So sino pong agencies would like to present next, Sec Anyo? We'll acknowledge them po.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, actually po, we already consolidated the
Consolidated presentation.
to one
Okay.
department. Nandun na rin po. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I'd also like to give priority to Senator Tolentino. So sino unahin ko? Si Senator Bato o si Senator Tol? Sino ba?
Mr. Chairman, I'll give way to Senator Bato and the others who arrived first. I'll just wait for my turn.
Mas mainit ang ulo ni Senator Bato kasi unahin na natin siya. Mga Miami Heat fans ito, Your Honors. Kaya Senator Bato, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you were giving me the priority because I am the chairman of Public Order and Dangerous.
That's why I'm giving it to you. I'm just joking.
Oh, no. I'm sure that the real reason is because natambakan ang Miami Heat. At anyway, Mr. Chairman, maraming salamat. Maraming salamat for this opportunity. I just have a couple of questions. Number one question is for BJMP. Sir, andyan ba yung ating director ng BJMP?
Yes, Mr. Chair, andito po ang director natin.
By the way, yes sir, General Anyo sir, Secretary Anyo sir, good morning. At saka sa lahat ng mga kasamahan mo dyan, magandang umaga po sa iyo lahat.
Good morning po, Senator De La Rosa.
Thank you sir. Sir, for BJMP, according to the 2019 COA report, there has been delayed completion of 49 infrastructure projects with total contract cost of 2,762,000,000, which hampered BJMP's objective of providing a functional and responsive jail facility to PDLs. May we know the status of this and the corresponding action of the Bureau with the aforesaid COA findings?
With the permission of the Secretary.
May I call the BJMP Director, Dr. Alan Iral, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. It's true that the COA had findings, a total of 15 findings on the BJMP. And out of these 15 COA findings, 13 were already fully implemented and 2 remains partially implemented. Now, one of the findings, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, is just what you have said a while ago, the 49 projects, construction projects of the BJMP. For the information of the good Senator, these are all ongoing projects and some of these will be completed this year. Ang observations lang naman ng COA doon is to properly monitor the implementation of all these projects na na-flag nila doon sa COA Audit Observation Memorandum. So we assured the Senator that we are on track and some of this will be finished this year.
Thank you, General Iral. Maraming salamat. Sir, ang next question ko is address to the NAPOLCOM. Andyan pa si Vice Chairman? Vice Chairman of NAPOLCOM?
He's here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. Attorney Casurao, sir. In 2019, COA report also, it was found that payment of police benefits to PNP uniform personnel by the NAPOLCOM and the grant of the same benefits by the PNP to the beneficiaries constitute double compensation
Opo.
What actions are undertaken with regard to this? Did the commission proceed with the payment to the PNP beneficiaries or hininto na ninyo? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Senator. Magandang umaga po. Ang immediate action po, with the permission of my boss, Secretary Anyo, may I proceed please?
Yes, go ahead, Vice Chair Roger Casurao.
Immediately after that notice that there was this stoppage, notice of stoppage, tuloy-tuloy pa rin namin binayaran talaga. Hanggang sa winarningan na kami ng COA that they're going to disallow if we continue payment. So we called for an SOS regarding the matter because there was this stoppage already, and then our beneficiaries were already insisting that they should get payment because some of these are already, they've been receiving this benefit for 25 years. Ito po ang nagme-maintain ng kanilang mga payment ng mga karamdaman.
Nawala.
Mr. Chair, nawala po sa linya, but may I add some answers. Ito pong disallowance na to ay nagsimula dahil sa isang legal opinion na nanggaling sa DBM na sinasabing meron daw double compensation. But the law states na hiwalay po talaga yung provision ng law para doon sa sinasabi. Kaya po nagkaroon kami ng meeting sa Malacanang together with the DBM at ang napag-usapan namin doon ay the DBM will alter or change their legal opinion because that is just their legal opinion. Pero pag tinignan po natin sa buong interpretation ng batas ay wala naman talaga pong double compensation. At ito lang ang hinahantay ng COA para ilip nila yung disallowance kasi kawawa naman yung mga recipients na hindi na tumatanggap ngayon, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Yun nga ang the same concern ko rin dahil nga my office has been receiving complaints coming from those nag-retire using dito sa yung Napolcom benefits dahil nga yun lang inaasahan nila na pambili ng gamot. Karamihan sa kanila mga bedridden na mga sundalo, PC na sundalo at mga pulis. Tapos ngayon, biglang discontinue. So, kawawa naman yung mga tao na yun. I hope ma-fix ninyo yan with the COA para hindi naman kawawa yung mga retired natin na yun lang ang inasahan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. Firstly, I will make sure that DBM will be able to provide us the new legal opinion. I have actually initially talked to the chairman of COA, Chairman Aguinaldo, and we have of the same view. So we will solve this immediately, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, Senator De La Rosa.
Maraming salamat, sir. Sir, next question ko sa PNP. Nandiyan ba si Chief PNP?
Nandito
Yes,
po, Your Honor.
General Castolan is here, Senator.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, the same COA report din, 2019 COA report stated that 47 out of 50 concessionaires used PNP facilities to operate their business despite lack of duly executed lease contracts. What actions have been undertaken regarding this matter as well as to the monthly rental rates in national headquarters, PRO 3, 4B, 5, and 11 were based on rates as far back as calendar year 1996, ranging from 1,200 to 49,000 per month. May we get updates from the Chief PNP? Dahil nga ito hindi pa natin sigurado kung yung mga facilities na ito, itong mga concessionaires na ito ay wala na silang kontrata, gumagamit pa ng tubig at kuryente ilaw ng PNP. So kawawa naman ang PNP pag masyado na tayong lugi nito. Ano masasabi mo dito, Chief PNP?
May I call on General Cascolan to please answer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, Honorable Senator Bato, sir, the Headquarters Support Service Technical Working Group issued Technical Working Group Resolution number 2020-001, recommending the imposition of fees and charges for the use of the PNP income generating facility, issuance also of interim IDs, and rental of concessionaires as a result of the review and evaluation of the rates and fees and charges in all headquarters service support income generating facilities. Likewise, the CRPO management was also directed and they commented that this issue was already raised to the command. Investigation was immediately conducted and imperative action was also applied. Upon investigation, 11 concessionaires were disclosed with no contract nor legal documents permitting them to utilize the CAMS facility. Thus, proper coordination and necessary actions were implemented, and in order to resolve this matter with the concessionaires, the management also instructed the regional legal office to prepare a contract for the lease of CAMS space and facility for qualified concessionaires. On Pro 3, Mr. Chair, RD Pro 3 already approved the resolution of the Pro 3 Appraisal Committee, recommending the monthly rental rate of available office space located at Captain Julian Olivas, City of San Fernando, dated May 11, 2020. Likewise, the Pro 3 Auction Committee has scheduled the pre-bid conference on last June 10, 2020. The concessionaires of PRO 3 are continuously paying the rental fees as of this date. For 4B, Mr. Chair, Pro-Mi Maropa Appraisal Committee was created pursuant to SO number 231 dated May 26, 2020. Also, a resolution was passed recommending the approval of 1,500 pesos per stall as monthly rate for the concessionaires and further to commence the bidding process. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, General Cascolan. Bok, maraming salamat. Follow-up question ko is, what is the status of your police body-worn camera procurement? For the record of this committee, can you state for the record the budget allocated, utilization rate, and very complete the said item? Please give us an update about the body-worn camera.
If I may proceed, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
With regard to the body cameras, we have more or less 2,600 units body-worn cameras to be delivered by September, but supposed to be by this September 30, 2020. It is more, we have the functional testing and evaluation on October 12, 2 weeks from now, of the body camera. At the same time, Mr. Chair, the protocol was the protocol on the use and the procedures of maintaining this body cameras was actually approved by you when I recommended it last 2016 yet. And lastly, the budget of this body camera is more than 287 million. And that's all, Mr. Chair.
So meron na tayong police operations na with the use of body-worn camera, especially anti-drug operations?
Actually,
Meron ba?
for anti-drug operations, sir, this will be prioritized. The functional testing will still be on October 12, 2020. Only then, if the testing evaluation will pass, will the body cameras be issued to our units outside, units in their anti-drug activities.
Thank you. Please update this committee pag ginagamit niyo yan para meron kaming pagsagot doon sa mga nagtatanong. Maraming salamat. Another question.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Meron tayong magandang batas na itong Anti-Drug and Drug Driving Act. Napakagandang batas ito kung talagang na-implement ito properly, na-enforce ito properly. Sana kukunti na lang ang mga nabiktima sa mga vehicular accidents na nangyayari dahilan nga sa lasing at high na mga driver. Kaya gusto kong tanungin yung PNP, do you have any budget allocated for 2021 for the implementation of the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act, such as acquisition of sufficient breath analyzers and drug testing kits? How many PNP officials are deputized by the LTO in the implementation of this act? Thank you.
Sir, the process is ongoing. Deputation will be from LTO to Highway Patrol Group. We still have to contend how many will be given that deputation. At the same time, sir, the how do you call this? The funds, sir, will be coming from the regular operational expenses.
Well, tinanong ko ito dahil last hearing namin, no? Nagalit si Senator Tolentino doon sa LTO dahil nga itong batas na ito ay naalala lang kapag may malaking vehicular accident na involving several casualties. Saka lang maalala itong batas na ito. Mukhang hindi gaanong sinerseryoso ng LTO ang pag-implement nito. Kaya paki-follow up na lang kung yung deputation from LTO dapat hindi lang limited to Highway Patrol Group, kundi dapat to the lowest level ng traffic unit ng lahat ng municipal stations ay yung kanilang deputation ay nakakarating. Kasama na dyan yung MMDA. Yun lang ang gusto ko ipaparating sa'yo.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may we add, as we've said, the process of the deputation is ongoing together with the LTO, most especially for HPG. There shall be 2 Philippine National Police per municipality that will be deputized for this purpose. The funds being used right now is the normal operational funds of the Highway Patrol Group, and at the same time, the municipal police stations funds will also be used. But we will maybe have to request for additional funds for this purpose, or so that we would be able to enforce much more stricter our law with regard to traffic.
Yes, Mr. Kasi nakalagay dito sa batas na ito, yung funding nito ay dapat manggagaling sa road users tax. Yun ang pagkaintindi ko. May malaki pang funding
Yes, sir.
din yung papalapit sa LTO.
Yes, sir.
Last question. Yung paggawa natin ng mga infrastructure, matagal na itong project na ito, pero hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin tapos. Nung pinuntahan ko, tinanong ko yung mga tao doon, para bang ang impression nila is ganito, Sir, kaya hanggang ngayon hindi pa yan tapos dahil ang contractor niyan, sir, ay parang kulang sa guilt. Parang hindi masyado siya nagigilty dahil ang nanalo sa kontrata daw nito is isipin mo project doon sa Davao Occidental. Tapos ang dito ginawa ang bidding sa Metro Manila at ang nanalo taga Metro Manila na construction company. So, instead na pupunta siya doon sa Davao Sur para mag-contract, pinasubcontract niya ng taga Davao Occidental. Now, yung subcontractor doon sa Davao is parang kulang sa guilt dahil hindi naman sila pwedeng habulin ng PNP dahil ang kontrata hindi naman sa kanila, doon naman sa contractor taga Manila. Please follow up on this dahil pag ganito palagi ang gagawin natin na sistema ng bidding, kawawa yung mga project natin doon sa baba, yung mga napabayaan dahil ang nanalo taga Manila, pinasubcontract sa taga Davao, then napabayaan. Ngayon ang responsibility ay dapat matukoy na kung sinong kakasuhan natin ito. Yun lang sa akin, si PNP.
Yes, Mr. Chair. will investigate the matter. DL has already been um, directed to do so together with the IDM, and maybe I would just like to state, sir, that this was actually my baby when I was TCD Chief of Staff in Davao, and we will see to it that this will be done properly, and we will investigate the matter, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Kung meron tayong dapat kasuhan natin para matuto itong mga kontraktor na ito na masyado namang kulang sa kulang sa responsibilidad. Yun lang, Mr. Chairman, maraming salamat for giving me the priority. Maraming salamat. Good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Bato. Salamat ho. Next is Chairman Francis Tolentino of the Local Government Committee, if he wishes. Otherwise, if he's still formulating his questions, he can come in later at any time.
No, I'm ready, but I want to give way to the First Lady Senator who was ahead of me, and then I can go.
That's okay. So we'll go first to Vice Chair Aimee, and then after her, we'll go back to you. Vice Chair Aimee, are you ready, ma'am? You have 10 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. I have so many questions po, Secretary Anyo, dahil nagpapanik yata yung ating mga LGU. Under the 2020 budget, as we all recall, there were appropriations provided for assistance to municipalities, assistance to cities, and Salintubig program. Several billion po to. I'd like to inquire, meron bang nabawasan dito ng bayanihan o yung ating COVID response? Kasi bakit biglang tangay na ito ni isang natitira? What is proposed na lamang is the NTF-LCAC. Can we please derive some information?
Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, Senator Amy Marcos. Actually po, when we submitted our proposed budget for 2021, kasama po yun sa aming mga ipinopose. Pero pagkabas po nung aming ceiling and NEP for 2021 ay hindi na po nakasama. Kaya nga po sumulat uli kami sa House na kung po pwede po ay maibalik sana yung restoration ng CMGP, 8.2 billion, restoration of Salintubig in the LGSF of 1.5 billion, at saka additional monitoring and evaluation for CMGP and Salintubig for 233 million. Right now po ay na-lodge na lang into 12 billion sa LGSF ang lahat-lahat ng para sa mga municipalities, cities, provinces, pero hindi na po doon naka-itemize yung mga CGP at Salintubig. They're seeking explanation also, but we are just told that because of the COVID pandemic, some budget has to be realigned also, Mr. Chair.
Yes, magaling na sundalo ang ating sekretary kahit nadali ng COVID 2 beses. Alam naman po ninyo, tactically, imposible itong NTF-LCAC i-execute kapag hindi mo kasama yung LGU. So, nung na-convert lahat ng pera nila na inaasahan, dahil frontliner naman ng LGU, galit na po sa NTF-LCAC. Paano po yun? Kasi si Secretary Esperon, inaasahan yan ang pambato natin sa NPA.
Kung mamarapatin po, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, yung sa NTF-LCAC na allocation for 16 billion, ito naman po ay talagang separate po talaga ito. Para sa akin, dapat tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung Salintubig at saka CMCP. Dahil ito po yung pangsagot din natin sa problema ng insurgency. At ito rin po talaga ang magdadala ng development sa mga countrysides. Sa tingin ko po, ang solution po sana dito ay mapagbigyan po yung aming proposal na madagdagan po ulit at makabigyan ng budget para sa mga projects na ito, Your Honor, Mr.
Thank you very much, and we urge the chairman of the Finance Committee to restore to some degree yung Salintubig higit sa lahat, because we know that hand washing, water resources, and water supply are so important particularly against the COVID pandemic. Meron rin tayong CMGP. Ang dahilan na binigay ng DBM, kasi daw, papasok na daw yung Mandanas ruling. Kaso, ang sabi naman ng ating finance managers, 2022 pa nga yung Mandanas. Paano naman yung 2021? Gusto nga natin i-institutionalize. So, eto, request rin ng mga LGU natin kung paano nga ibabalik yung CGMP at dinadagdagan pa ng ating mabuting sekretary ng monitoring and evaluation. Itatanong ko kasi nabanggit na ninyo, Secretary, yung 12 billion na LGSF. Magkano po ba ang natanggap ng DILG sa Bayanihan 1 and 2? Kasi ang pagkaalala ko, may LGSF po ron sa Bayanihan 2.
I think it's 2 billion, I think, in Bayanihan 2. I think 1.5 or 2 billion.
I think we put 1.5 billion under LGSF and then 2 billion, one each for the LBP and the LBP. Lumabas na po ba yung sinasabi na 1.5 billion na LGSF? Sa inyo na ba yung Bayanihan 2?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, ang alam ko po ang para sa Bayanihan 2, ang pupunta po sa amin ay yung 5 billion para sa pag-contact tracing, hiring or procurement. Sininimulan po namin ngayon yung pagtanggap ng mga applicants. Pero hindi pa po namin natatanggap yung budget.
Yung 1.5 ko, kasi may iba yatang LGU na nag-a-apply. Ang sinasabi raw ng DBM, dapat directly for medical supplies and materials. Samantalang alam naman natin na ang problema ng LGU, manggagaling na yung mga medical supplies sa DOH, ngunit ang kailangan nila yung pang-isolation, contact tracing, yung quarantine po. Kaya nakakagulo ng konti sa pagkaintindi sa LGSF ngayon. Sana maliwanagan sa DBM po.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, ang LGSF po talaga, ang namamanage po ay ang DBM. Hindi po talaga ang DILG. So we will discuss this with DBM. Diretso din po ang release nila sa mga LGUs.
Pakisabi na lang po kasi sa transcript naman maliwanag doon sa BICAM na yung DOH ang talaga magpo-procure ng directly medical requirements. Pero redundant na kung pati yung LGSF, balik na naman sa medical supplies. Huwag nila sana ililimit yan sapagkat binigay na natin sa barangay at sa ating mga probinsya at syudad yung yung responsibilidad magtatag ng mga isolation and quarantine area. So sana masaayos po niyan. Napansin ko lang, Secretary, yung ating PS lumolobo masyado sa DILG, parang 85.9% ng inyong budget lahat sahod. Halos wala na kayong MOE?
Yes po, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. Ang aming pong MOE ay 12% ng aming budget at ito po ay maintenance ito ng mga bagong procure na patrol cars at ng mga bagong itinayo mga fire station at police stations. Ang kabubuan po, 86% ay napunta sa personal services para doon sa mga adjustment ng standardization ng salary at saka yung mga bagong i-hire o procure for 2021, Mr. Chair.
Yes, abalang-abala po kami dyan kasi napakababa naman ng amount na 12%. Kung tutuusin all over the country, yung DILG ang naka-frontline. Bakit po ganun kaliit? So kung maaari, yung priority ninyo at makikisuyo tayo sa DBM na kahit pa paano dagdagan naman. Yung 85.9, alam ko po, nasa salary standardization 5 na tayo. Kaya wala naman tayong masyadong choice dyan.
Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair, marami po kaming galing sa DILG budget. At isa pa, may DILG endorsement ng bill na nagbibigay ng standard benefit sa barangay health workers. Kasi pa iba-iba yung stipend na binibigay ng LGU, depende kung gusto ng mayor at may kakayahan. Which provisions of the local government code are you proposing sa DILG to amend in this regard? At saka in terms of budget, napasa to at mukha naman popular siya, paano na naman ipopondo to? Kasi lahat ng contact tracing, lahat ng COVID efforts natin, bumabagsak din sa BHW sa ibaba eh. Ngayon, kung bibigyan natin sila, kukunin na lang ba sa contact tracing yan or i-standardize at institutionalize? Paano po ba yon?
Mas gusto po sana namin, Your Honor, ma-standardize at institutionalize. Kasi po yung contact tracing ay talagang for contact tracing lang at maglalaps po naman yun eh. Hanggang 3 months lang po yung effectivity ng batas, pati yung hiring nila. Samantalang yung ating pong barangay health workers ay permanent. At hindi lang itong epidemic na to ang pwedeng dumating, pati na rin sa pagtugon sa iba pang mga diseases. So, we would like to push through for that law po masigurado na ang barangay health workers natin ay nabibigyan ng tamang compensation at incentive, Mr. Chair.
Did you propose a budget for that, Mr. Secretary? Kaya lang hindi nasama sa NEP?
Wala po kaming na-propose na budget po dyan because umaasa po kami doon sa batas. Pero if you will require us, Mr. Chair, Senator Amy, we will submit.
Yes. Oo, kasi pag kahit napasa yung batas, kung wala rin budget, mahirapan na naman tayo magpondo niyan eh. Yes po. Yes po, may mga comment din sa Seal of Good Local Governance, yung SGLG, kasi maraming nagsasabi na kung minsan hindi daw pantay-pantay ang pag-award at yung mga criteria napaka-outdated daw. It merely rewards rigid and unresponsive LGUs. Samantalang yung talagang innovative, compassionate, responsive, lalo na dito sa COVID, parating pinaparusahan. Ano po ang comment ninyo sa sinasabing ganon?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will refer to Yusek Mabsa Sendilio is handling the SGLG. Yusek Mabsa Sendilio, please.
Thank you, Secretary. Good morning po. Chair of the Finance Committee, Your Honor, Senator Amy. Yung Seal of Good Local Governance, as you know, is already a law. And the criteria that are there are developed in a very participatory manner. And there, in the selection, it goes through a process that starts at self-assessment of the LGU, that it moves up to the province, to the region, to the national level.
Yes, thank you. I'm very familiar po with the procedure kasi ang tagal kong governor. Sa awa ng Diyos, parati naman kaming nakakadali ng SGLG. Kaya nga lang, maraming nagre-reklamo na given these pandemics, emergencies, disasters that have become run-of-the-mill and everyday, kailangan daw i-update or baguhin yung ibang SGLG na nakatutok halos lahat sa financial regulations, sa ating pagsusunod ng mga dating project.
Okay, tama po kayo, Senator. The criteria are now criteria for selection for SGLG is now being reviewed. But for this year, unfortunately, we decided to withhold the award because of the challenges that we're facing in COVID-19. So wala po tayong awarding this year for SGLG. Next year na po yung awarding. Yung
Naku, patay.
scale,
Inireklamo lang yung criteria, yung mismong award na wala pa.
yes sir, yes ma'am, for this year lang dahil doon sa sa COVID. One of the things that was suspended was the SGLG. And then, pero next year po, ma'am, andun siya for 2021, and the criteria is now being subjected to review by the SGLG Council. It's an interagency council with representatives in the private sector and the local government. So meron pong ganong proseso po na dinadaanan niyon. As we move towards the full devolution, ang criteria talaga aangat siya from mere compliance to certain laws, iaangat
Yun na nga
natin
eh.
po sa results. It will be scaled
Sige.
up to looking at results that are being generated by local governments.
Thank you very much, Yusek. Yes, we're really looking forward to results-based leadership. And given the pandemic, it's become very, very apparent that there are certain elements that should be criteria as well in the SGLG. Given the heroic efforts of some of our LGUs, unang-una, sana may konting konsiderasyon sa may creative responses sa healthcare. Marami kasing LGU na nag-embark na sa telemedicine. Siguro naman may puntos yun. Pagkatapos, meron rin nagba-buyback ng bigas at iba pang agricultural products. Yung siguro yung food secure LGU, dapat may puntos din yun. Kasi talagang nag-e-effort yung iba na buhayin ang kanilang sariling probinsya. Ikatlo, siguro may environmental rin naman na puntos pa. Pagkat nakita naman natin, hindi ko alam kung dahil sa food delivery o sa sangkatutak na online order at eto pa, papasok pa yung mga modular lessons ng DepEd, sangkatutak ng basura sa lahat ng kalsada. Sana naman may environmental points din yung ating SGLG kasi parang nakakalimutan na yung health, yung agriculture, saka yung environment kasi yun talaga ang naging kapansin-pansin nitong pandemyang to.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, nakalagay naman sila sa criteria. Pero sisiguraduhan po namin na malaking puntos yung mabibilang dito sa health responsiveness, environmental protection. Kapag po nag-convene yung council, will make sure po na pag-usapan yan. Ito lang pong pandemic, yung 1 billion sana allocated for the SGLG awarding ay na-capture din ng DBM for realignment to COVID response.
Okay, maraming salamat at Mr. Chair.
Just one point related. Yung batas kasi, I sponsored that when I was chair of local government. There is a provision there. Yeah, there is a provision there, Madam Vice Chair, Amy, na yung Section 7, the foregoing criteria for SGLG can be expanded depending on the views of the council. So maybe if you have recommendations, bigay mo sa DILG and they can take it up, Your Honor.
Yes, that's what I would like to do po because the SGLG also has bearing on their financial capacity to borrow and so on.
Yes.
Malaking bagay kasi eh. So I laud the chairman for having been the author pala. I did not realize. Yung NYC na lang po, nandyan ba si Ryan?
Yeah, I think the chair is here. The chair is here.
Yeah, Chair Enriquez, ano na ang status ng LQ ninyo sa inyong Employees Association na katakot-takot ang turo tungkol sa abuse, usurpation of authority, violation of security, and harassment? Ano ba ito? Hindi ba ito natapos? Yan na lamang yung balita namin sa SK. Yung employees po ninyo at yung billboard. Ano ba yan? Ano na ba ang nangyari sa SK at NYC?
Yes, tungkol po sa National Youth Commission Employees Association, nagkaroon na po kami ng initiative ni Secretary Anyo po na makausap din po ang National Youth Commission Employees Association. So, nasa 5 beses na po namin silang pinatawag pero hindi pa rin po sila nagpapakita. Naggawa na rin po ng position paper regarding po sa mga accusations po nila. Magpapasa na rin po sa inyo send ng aking po nga position paper regarding po sa kanilang mga comments or yung mga reklamo po nila.
Much more. Okay, yung billboard nasagot mo na, di ba?
Yes, opo. Yung tungkol po sa billboard, wala na pang gastos po yung ating gobyerno. At ang gusto lang naman po natin ay mai-promote po natin ang National Youth Commission dahil marami po mga kabataan na hindi po alam ang National Youth Commission until now. So, malaking bagay din po yung billboard kasi dumami rin po yung mga Facebook likes po namin. At
nagulat lang yung mga senador kung anong tatakbuhan mo.
Wala
Hindi, okay lang.
Isip po natin.
May 35 ka na ba, Chairman Ryan? May 35 years old ka na ba?
Wala pa po. Wala.
O yun. So, hindi ka tatakbong senador.
Okay,
Hindi po,
okay,
hindi po.
nakakatawa.
Marami pong
Pero
pwedeng tumakbo.
yung kinagugulatan ko lang dito sa COVID, ang pinakamahusay sana na contact tracer at nakakabit sa katawan ng kanilang telepono at tech savvy sila, dapat yung mga SK, parang wala kami naririnig na may COVID response yung SK. Ano na ba nangyari?
Yes, tungkol po dito sa mga projects po ng SK po natin, may po tayo mga naka-line up. For example po, yung mga SK journalism, yung Cyberspace League, and gagawin po natin sa 81 provinces.
Ryan, Chair Enriquez.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Enriquez, line up ang sinabi mo. Nakakapitong buwan na tayo
Tungkol po sa COVID
Wala
initiative.
ongoing. Wala ba kayong ginawa ng 7 buwan?
Meron po tayong check ko po yung listahan. Mahaba po yung listahan po natin.
Wala ba naman
Ito po.
TikTok na hand washing or something?
Apo, yung sa COVID initiatives po natin, yung Cyberspace League, Community-Based Journalism for SK, and Regional Online Talakayan.
Wala naman yun Ina-announce pa ninyo, diba? Ilo-launch pa lang yata nakita ko.
Teka ba, ito po yung mga initiatives po namin. Mahaba po yung listahan. Check lang.
So sige, ganito na lang i-submit mo na lang kasi yung balita namin sa NYC, puro away-away, nahihiya na ako pag tinatanong sa akin
Okay po.
I-submit mo na lang kay Chair Angara, pwede?
Okay po.
And then one last na lang, Chair Sunny, yung BFP, last but not least.
Go ahead.
Andyan po yung Bureau of Fire Protection.
Yes, the head is here with us. Who is it?
Director Embang. Part Director Embang.
Yeah. Director
Okay, yung director lang po ng...
Superintendent Fernandez is also here.
Yeah, meron tayong 5-fold increase, 1 billion to procure fire trucks, self-contained breathing apparatus, construction of 45 stations. Malaking bagay po to. Kaya lang, ang tinatanong na naman ng LGU, meron bang fair and equitable distribution yan? Kasi dati, hilaan yan sa PCSO, hilaan kung saan. Ano ba talaga yung criteria na naman ng bigayan nito? Kasi napakalaking increase ng 1 billion.
Yes, Your Honor, with the permission of the Secretary, sir. Ang criteria po ng distribution natin ng mga fire trucks, basically, one is yung mga cities and municipalities without fire stations, Your Honor. Tapos, yung mga fire stations na may na kinonstruct ng ating LGUs at yung mga for refitting. Yung prioritization namin in identifying recipients of the fire trucks, Your Honor.
Sige, if I could just have it in writing to reassure our LGUs that they will be considered and somehow will find themselves on that list. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have 1 million questions pa po, pero I don't think I need to bore the committee with that. Salamat.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice Chair Aimee. With the indulgence of Senator Tol, can we give time to Vice Chair Bong just to make his usual manifestation of support? Thank you, Vice Chair Bong. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Tol. Not usual manifestation lang po ito, Chairman Angara. I have 2 million questions.
Go ahead.
Senator Aimee, 1 million questions.
Tinalo mo si Aimee, sir.
Anyway, my fellow colleagues, I will not be interposing any questions. Totoo lang. I just want to express my full support for the budget of the Department of Interior and Local Government. The DILG has been one of the most important lifelines of the government during this pandemic. Nakikita nyo naman po kahit saan, nandun po sila. Sila yung frontliners dito, yung mga police natin. They're the ones who was tasked to do the contact tracing and ensure that our LGUs have the capacity to combat, cope, and recover from COVID-19. Under the DILG is our Philippine National Police, which played and continues to play a vital role in keeping the peace and security of the nation and aid in the enforcement of the ongoing imposed community quarantines of the nation. Alam niyo naman po na mahal po namin ng Pangulo ang mga pulis at sundalo, kaya pangalagaan po natin sila. Ang DILG rin po ang nagsisilbing bantay sa mga corrupt na opisyal. It has been our President's clarion call to eradicate corruption. I urge the DILG to continue pursuing this mandate up to the last centavo. Wala pong dapat masayang na pera ng taong bayan. Ituloy-tuloy po natin itong kampanyang ito at alam ko marami na kayong nasuspinde ng mga local officials na nagsasamantala sa pagkakataong ito. And aside from that, ituloy rin po natin yung kampanya laban sa illegal na droga at kriminalidad. Hindi natin ito magagawa kundi po sa tulong ng ating pulis. Mahirapan po tayo. Kaya full support po kami sa inyo, kami ni Pangulong Duterte. Full support kami sa mga pulis. And of course, sa DILG. Diyan rin po ang Bureau of Fire Protection, which ensures that our countrymen are also safe from fire and other disasters. I express my full support for the fire modernization program of the BFP. As a matter of fact, I filed Senate Bill number 204, which furthers fire protection and modernization, which is now consolidated under Committee Report number 111, otherwise known as BFP Modernization Act of 2020. Mayroon na pong nafa-finalize na proposal ng BFP para sa kanilang modernization plan amounting to 27 billion pesos. Mr. Chair, I hope you can include this in the budget kung ano pong pwede nating maitulong sa kanila dahil talagang kailangan na po ito. The BFP needs all the help they can get. Their lives are always on the line. Nakaugalian ko na pong umikot sa kahit isang sulok ng Pilipinas para sa mga nasusunugan. Minsan nga, binibiro ako na mas nauna para ako sa Bureau of Fire doon sa mga nasunugan. Biro lang po. Sa ngayon, sa aking sariling pamamaraan, patuloy pa rin po ako tumutulong sa mga kababayan natin. Mahirap po masunugan. Ubos ang lahat, pero parati kong sinasabi sa kanila, ang pera naman po ay kikitain natin, magtulungan lang tayo. Pero yung perang kikitain natin, hindi po nabibili yung buhay. So, importante pa rin po ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Mahirap masunugan po. Mahirap magsimula muli. Pagtulungan po natin na ito, hindi lang po sa mga nasunugan, kundi sa lahat po ng ating mga kababayan na nangangailangan po ng tulong. Sa DILG, alam ko pong nandiyan kayo para umalalay sa ating mga kababayan na naghihirap po sa panahon ito. For these reasons, I fully support the budget of DILG. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm sure the department appreciates your support very much.
Anyway, sorry, Mr. Chair. Sa lahat rin sa attached agencies ng DILG, and of course, ang Bureau of Jail Protection at sa lahat pa po, NYC, full support rin po ako sa lahat po ng under ng DILG. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Bongo, Senator Bongo. Thank you, sir. We'll go to Chairman Francis Tolentino of the Committee on Local Government, and then after that is Vice Chair Cynthia Villar. Go ahead, Chairman Tolentino.
Thank you, Chair, Senator Angara. I just have 21 pages here of questions. Hindi ko alam kung matatapos ko ito. Pero wala akong tanong po sa PNP. No questions sa DJMP and other attached agencies of the DILG. May konting questions lang kay Secretary, and this is germane to the question raised a while ago by Senator Amy Marcos, also a former colleague in the local government sector. We are now on the verge of implementing the Mandanas ruling. Malapit na po ito. During the 2019 budget hearing, Secretary Anyo, I hope you can hear this, you promised to provide this representation, the committee, a copy of your plan on how the Mandanas ruling will be implemented by phases, but in tranches. But it seemed it appears that we have yet to receive that plan. When that was during the 2019 budget hearing, 2020 naman, Secretary. Even with the pandemic, I hope you can provide us with that plan. Kasi next year na yung implementation, next year, nung Mandanas ruling, Secretary.
Thank you po. Thank you, Senator Tolentino. Mr. Chair, Your Honor. On the Mandanas ruling, we have actually prepared for the transition up to 2022. I would give the floor to Yusek Mabs Sendoncillo, who is in charge of the efforts to support the implementation of the Mandanas ruling. Yusek Mabs Sendoncillo, please.
Thank you, Secretary. Magandang umaga po muli sa committee at saka sa Your Honor, Senator Tolentino. Ang decision po kung kailan mag-implement ang Mandanas, ang Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas petition was made very recently. It had to go through various discussions up to cabinet level. So yung paghahanda po para sa implementation in 2022, right now we have almost done with the crafting of the executive order that would guide national agencies and local governments for the implementation of that decision. This has been done with various agencies and in consultation with local governments throughout the country. But spearheading this is the Department of Budget and Management. To just give you an idea as to how that will be done, there are two major components to the implementation. One is the actual transfer of money, of resources to the local governments, but it has to be coupled with capacity building. Right now, the discussions with national agencies are focusing on what are the minimum service standards for each service sector that will be complied with by local governments. Given those standards, we've got to know the capacity of local governments to implement it, to deliver the services. Kaya po may kaakibat na capacity assessment na gagawin. And we're almost done also, Senator Tolentino, with the master plan for capacity building, not only for local governments, but for national government agencies as well.
Yusek, if I may interrupt you, understand. So you're in the midst of preparations, but last year, 2019 budget hearing, you promised to provide us, this committee, with a copy of your plan on how this will be implemented. Kung ano lang yung meron nyo siguro, after more than a year, if you can courteously provide this committee para mapagandahan. Kasi the next budget would be really a revolutionary budget, so to speak, because we will have to, whether we like it or not, we will have to incorporate the core of the Mandanas ruling. Yun lang po, Yusek. I think I know what you're saying, that you're still planning this, and this is supposed to be an interagency effort. Salamat Yusek, nakuha ko na yan. So mabalik ako sa lahat, pati kay Secretary. Alam niyo po, ang purpose ng with due respect to the others, ang purpose ng budget is for administrative cohesion, public accountability, and siguro kasama na rin po yung good governance. And in all of this, we look at through the prism of good practices, good procedures, and all of these things. And as I've seen the budget for several years, I've been in the government for several years, I've always looked at the DILG and the Department of Budget and Management as the default departments. Pag wala nang paglagyan, pasok sa DBM, pasok sa DILG. And with that as my thesis, I see the budget of the DILG year in and year out, through the years. It sort of gets some chunks of the budgets that would have supposed to be given to the DOLE, to the DNR, to LUWA, as Senator Marcos mentioned a while ago, relative to Salintubig, PCOO, even the Housing Department. Kaya ko po sinasabi to, Secretary, and I direct this question to you. during the 2019 budget hearing, and I was able to glance at the this year's budget, it appears that there is a big chunk of a budget given to the DILG, which is supposed to be beyond the purview of your competency. And I'm referring to housing. You have a capacitating LGU on resettlement governance with a budget of 87,289,000, and this was reformatted, and during the previous year it has another nomenclature which I forgot, and Senator Rizal Ontiveros is very familiar with this. Tama po ba kaya na itong budget sa housing dito sa mapalagay lagi sa DILG, kasi nung sinimulan to wala pa yung Department of Housing, and I mentioned this amidst the quote-unquote hanging in the balance of your former colleague in the Philippine Army, Secretary General Del Rosario, who is to be voted upon by the Commission on Appointments, and some of the points raised for several weeks is his department's non-focus or lack of resources insofar as housing is concerned. And lumalabas, yung palang ibang budget ng housing ay napupunta sa ibang departamento. So itong sa budget nyo po ngayon, meron kayong RGAF, Resettlement Government Assistance Fund. Secretary, in your honest opinion, dapat po ba ang in charge sa housing ay DILG o yung Department of Housing? Kasi sinasabi ko po yan, kung halimbawa po ang police stations, ang paggawa natin ng police stations ay ang DSWD, baka naman magreklamo kayo. So, yung bang mga housing dapat pa sa DILG, Secretary?
Salamat po, Senator Tolentino. Eventually po, we would like also really to fully transfer all about resettlement to the Department of Housing. Kaya lang po, kasama po kasi yan sa mga programs for governance reforms programs. It's not just a matter of infrastructure, it is before the entry of the infrastructure and even after the completion of the infrastructure, the resettlement programs are also in place because it's just not a matter of transferring the informal settlers. Dapat po pagpasok nila doon ay nagkaroon na ng connection with the receiving LGUs, included na sila sa planning ng LGUs for the succeeding years, and then once it is finally resettled or they have settled down, then completely po sa LGUs budget na yon, wala pong masyadong infrastructure involved ito po sa tinatawag nating resettlement program budget po namin. It's of making the LGU between two LGUs ready. The informal settlers will be assured of continuing utility services, and once nandun na po sila ay full LGU responsibility na po. So yun lang po yung niretain na budget sa amin.
Yes, Secretary, but I may courteously interrupt you. But isn't that a function of the National Housing Authority to coordinate with LGUs? Kahapon, ni-raise din niya ni Senator Cynthia Villar na yung NHA na nakikipag-usap sa LGUs in terms of social preparation, in terms of not just the relocation, but even the sustainable resettlement of the informal settlers coming from Metro Manila, among others. So, hindi ba natin pwedeng, again, I go back to my previous thesis, good processes, good practices, and good procedures, dapat siguro dun sa kung sino yung agency na in charge. So, I go to my third question. It has something to do again with the part of your budget for 2021. You have a Muslim Resettlement Relocation Services Fund. Di ba dapat po sa Human Settlements Department na So di ba dapat sa kanila na rin yun, yung relocation, Muslim settlement. So it doesn't matter if you're a Muslim or what. The concept of resettlement has been lodged by Congress to another agency, and it probably it's probably regular that an agency which before the creation of a new agency should respect the decision of Congress that newly created agency, and I'm referring to the Department of Housing, be given that appropriate respect and assistance insofar as implementing their programs. Do you agree with that, Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Fully agree with that, Mr. Chair.
So meron na kayo dito
DILG
na, yes, meron na kayo dito
Yeah.
10 million plus para sa resettlements of Muslims, and it's open that the secretary whose nomination hangs in the palace is also the chair of the task force Bangon Kami. So dapat siguro matulungan din natin yung gano'n para mapabilis yung procedure.
Yes, Mr. Chair, agree po ako dyan that ang DILG ay magiging one of the consultant na lang, o siguro advisor. No? Actually, right now, our effort is transferring the capacity with these respective agencies or eventually transferring all these responsibilities to them, Mr. Chair.
So para talagang nakafocus na kayo sa local government capacitation, sa peace and order, para mabawasan din yung ilang trabaho nyo, Secretary. And I'm going to the third point. Although the Supreme Court ruling tungkol po sa Manila Bay, I also see a big chunk of your...
Ito upat na listas na ako sa inyo. Si update ko itong mga pangutana na ako kahapon sa inyo.
I'm sorry.
Ito upat na yun ako sa inyo.
Medyo out of order yung isa. Somebody, Mr. Chair, I think somebody is talking.
I think Vice Chair Bong, is it okay to request you to move
Niya sila kapilang
mute your mic?
agencies dapat always.
Yes, sir.
Vice Chair Bong, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Vice Chair. Chairman Francis.
I look at the budget likewise of the DILG relative to the Manila Bay cleanup. Hindi po ba dapat ito nasa DNR naman? Kasi although you're part of the ruling of the Supreme Court, the big chunk of the cleanup operations belongs to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Ito po yung nakikita ko na nasalon nyo yung budget dati, pero dapat siguro nakalagay dun sa tamang ahensya. Secretary?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yung pong budget na for Manila Bay sa amin, 54 million, actually this is part of our task to audit the LGUs if they are complying with the Supreme Court mandamus. Secondly, to audit the performance in environmental protection and how they are actually doing its effort to rehabilitate the Manila Bay. So this is more on, again, governance that is monitoring, evaluating, and ensuring compliance of the LGUs. And likewise, part of this is incentivizing our LGUs who are able to comply with our requirements and making them sure that they are rewarded. So yun lang po yung part ng ating DILG sa pag-gastos nitong aming budget na to, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Secretary. You mentioned the word mandamus. If I am the leader of Governor Mandanas, I will now seek a mandamus ruling requiring the DILG and the DBM to really implement the Mandanas ruling. Yun lang po yan. Pero going back to the Salintubig, yung nabanggit ni Senator Marcos, during the 2019 budget hearing, i-remind ko na naman kayo, you promised, and the Senate records will bear me out, that you will provide this committee, including this representation, a report as to the 134 LGUs that successfully are now implementing now the potable water system, and this came about after our discussions relative to the possible eventual transfer to the LUA of Salintubig project. But as I speak, with all due respect, Mr. Secretary, wala pa ho kami natatanggap na documents ninyo, yung pinangako ng 2019 budget hearing. Kailan po kaya?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. If we are not able to submit, then we will do so. Actually po, meron kaming coordination with the LUA chair, possibility of transferring all these water projects to them, but they also told us that they cannot do it instantaneously because of the big responsibility nationwide, especially when we are talking of power-plant areas, those that are isolated. So, but we are in the process on that, Mr. Chair. And I promise to submit the report that you need, Mr. Chair.
Kasi po, tatanungin ko po pag nag-budget hearing ang Department of Transportation, ang Post Office, bakit yung mga letters coming from DILG and DepEd hindi nakakarating sa amin? Baka may diferensya yung Post Office. Kidding aside, Secretary, sana matanggap natin yan kasi 2 years na po. And going back to a recent pronouncement by the President. And this was dated September 3, 2020. And I'm sure you're very well aware of this because you sit as the joint chair or co-chair of the interagency task force. Is that correct?
It's for National Task Force for COVID-19, Mr. Chair. I'm the Vice Chair.
The President already gave a directive and this appeared in the media that once, this is again another default catch-all provision that will involve the DILG, your department, that once a vaccine is available, I'm sure you're aware of this, once a vaccine is available, all police stations nationwide will be used as the vaccination or vaccine hubs. Tama po ba yan? Yun ang sinabi ni Presidente. So you should be prepared for this. You should be prepared for this year's budget, this coming fiscal year. So ibig ko sabihin dyan, Mr. Secretary, if you will be the vaccine hubs nationwide, katulong ng DOH siguro ang DILG, ang kapulisan, dapat po may budget tayo ng ref man lang o freezer para lalagyan ng bakuna sa ating mga police stations. Am I correct? Or am I wrong? O baka naman pagdating ng vaccine sa April, at saka pa lang tayo maghihingi ng budget para magkaroon ng pambili ng freezer. Kasi masisira po yung bakuna pag hindi nilagay sa freezer. Can you answer that?
Tama po, Mr. Chair. Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Is that part of your budget for this year, the acquisition of freezers?
Sa ngayon po ay wala sapagkat ang bigay lang po kasi sa aming NEP ay this amount. So we have to work out on that amount only. But if we are given the chance, we would like to prepare for that, Mr. Chair.
Dapat siguro kasi ni direktiba na ang Presidente. Otherwise, baka sumali pa ho, magagalit sa akin si Senator Villar, baka sumali pa ang Department of Agriculture kasi may mga cold storage po ang Department of Agriculture. Yung lalagyan ng isda, baka doon ilagay yung bakuna. But I think you have to prepare for this, Secretary, being the co-chair of the interagency task force. So how will you address this?
Senator Tolentino, just to inform you, you have consumed 10 minutes. We'll give you a few more minutes if you wish.
Last 1 minute.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Sabi ko 21 pages ito, but I respect the lineup arranged by the chair. So payag po lipat yung budget ng housing, Department of Housing. Number 2, we got your confirmation that the other budget will be transferred, the Muslim budget will be transferred to the Housing Department. The contract tracers, last question, Mr. Chair. So far you mentioned that there are now 50,000 contract tracers. Is this part of the budget for the next fiscal year?
That's part of the Bayanihan 2. We recover as one, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, salamat. Lilipat ako sa budget hearing ng Department of Labor and Employment, but I ask this last question. The coherence and the significance in terms of core competency of the OFW desk. Hindi ba dapat, Secretary, bigay na lang natin to sa DOLE? Pati yung budgetary requirement ito kasi OFW, DOLE. So, bakit pipilitin pa natin mapunta sa DILG to? Di ba pwede kaya DOLE na lang and LGUs?
Mr. Chair, actually yung aming pong OFW desk ay out of necessity because there is an interagency coordination arriving OFW, making sure that they're not displaced. So that's why we have to put up that in order to have a focal point for DLGUs nationwide. So this is the desk that inform all LGUs of arriving OFW, whether they're alive or human remains, and ensuring that coordination is would reach the right information would reach the right LGU. So yun lang po naman yung role
Thank
niya,
you,
Mr. Chair.
Secretary. But recognize also the fact that there are PESO officers in all LGUs nationwide. And these PESO officers are directly linked with the Department of Labor and Employment. Maraming salamat, Senator Angara. Maraming salamat for being forthright, Secretary. So I give the floor to my other colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
po,
much,
Mr. Chair.
Local Government Chair, Senator Tolentino. Some very good points there. Next is our Vice Chair, Senator Cynthia Villar, who will be followed by Senator Binay. Go ahead, Vice Chair Cynthia, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon. It's afternoon already. Good afternoon, Chairman and my colleague in the Senate, and good afternoon, Secretary Anyo. Okay. My first question is, I just want to know the ideal percentage of police relative to population and the firemen, because you're handling both the fire department and the police department. What is the ideal ratio of policemen to population, and what is the ideal ratio of firemen towards relative to population?
Thank you, Senator Cynthia and Mr. Chair. I will give the floor to the PNP Chief and to Fire Director. General Cascolan, please.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, the authorized strength for the PNP is actually 1:500. That's the police to population ratio. With regard to the word ideal, ma'am,
What is it now? It's the ideal is
it's
1 to
543.
500. Right now it's 1
1:543.
43. Okay, the
Yes,
firemen
ma'am.
and the firemen.
General Imbang, Director Imbang, please.
Yes, ma'am. For the fire department's ratio, the ideal is one firefighter is equivalent to 2,000. But the current now is 3,360.
Okay. I remember kasi nung magkasunog dito sa aming barangay, dadalawa ang firemen, tapos ayaw umandar yung fire truck, nasunog yung bahay kasi hindi umandar yung fire truck. Isang driver at isa lang nagtutulak, hindi umandar yung fire truck. So I'm very particular about this mga fire station nyo that will function well, kasi galit na galit yung mga homeowner kasi nasunog yung isang bahay dahil hindi umandar yung fire truck. Anyway, and next question is, you have in your budget, if I'm not mistaken, 1.8 billion to purchase rice for your na binibigay daw sa mga firemen, sa mga policemen, at saka sa mga nasa jail, di ba? 1.8 billion. Tama ba yung basa ko? Kasi binasa ko yung inyong budget. Tama ba yung basa ko na ang inyong purchases of rice is 1.8 billion a year?
Ma'am, I will get back to you immediately. I will just confer with my...
Ma'am, for the PNP, Philippine National Police.
You have a budget. I saw it na ang purchases nyo ng rice, yung nag-present ng budget nyo. Yung nag-present ng budget nyo, nabasa ko doon eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is the rice allowance for uniform services, Mr. Chair.
But uniform services plus ano yon, yung nasa jail nyo, di ba pinakakain nyo yung nasa jail nyo, yun ang total rice allowance nyo, 1.8 billion. Okay.
Yung pong sa jail ay subsistence allowance po yung ibinibigay.
Oo.
Para sa
Hindi
mga
ba may ration
PDLs.
para kakain sila? Yeah. So I will just, because I am the chairman of the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food, and one of the biggest problem natin ngayon, there are not enough people buying rice from our local farmers. Kasi alam mo, kaya nga natin nilagay yung RCEP, yung Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, kasi talaga yung mga rice farmer natin, hindi sila competitive relative to the rice farmers of Vietnam and Thailand. Ang ating rice farmer produce rice at 12 pesos per kilo, sila 6 pesos and 8 pesos respectively. So ini-encourage natin ng government, especially the NFA, to buy rice from our local farmers para tulungan sila until such time na magawa natin silang competitive. So I guess it's but fair to ask the DILG, since it's the money of the government, to buy rice from our local farmers with your needs, kasi ang NFA naman, they have warehouses all over the Philippines. In fact, kaming mga senador at mga local government, pag magbibigay kami ng rice sa aming mga constituents nung pandemic, doon kami sa bumibili sa NFA. So I think it's but fair that we ask the DILG to buy your rice from the local farmers, maybe through NFA, para makatulong naman kayo sa problema ng ating mga local rice farmer. Can I get that commitment from Secretary Anyo?
Yes, ma'am, Senator Villar. In fact, ma'am, yung ating BJMP, may MOA sila sa NFA. Doon po talaga sila bumibili direkta sa NFA para sa consumption ng PDL at saka ng organic personnel. Sa LGU naman po ay issued a memo circular to all LGUs to give priorities in buying agricultural products from the local farmers and from the NFA. Ito po sa Philippine National Police at Bureau of Fire, I will enjoin them to buy rice from NFA, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Para katulad ngayon, nasa front page na naman, mababa daw ang presyo ng rice. So siguro naman, it's but fair that we ask you to support the rice industry until it will come to a point na competitive na sila do sa mga Vietnam at saka Thailand, and then they can fight for themselves. But in the meantime, we should help them coming from government. Yun lang po. And then my next question is, what are your programs? Kasi nakita nga natin yung budget sa Manila Bay Cleanup. Ano ba yon? Walang budget sa Manila Bay Cleanup. Binabantayan nyo lang yung local government. They will follow yung mandate nila na linisin ang Manila Bay. Yung
the bigger chunk of the budget, of course, goes to the DENR, which is the primary agency implement the Manila Bay Rehab. Ours is ensuring that the LGUs are compliant with all the laws. 54 million lang po. 54 million lang po.
And it takes 54 million for you to yung mga NCR na i-require sila na maglinis ng Manila Bay. Do we have to do that? Makikinig ba sa inyo yung mayor ng NCR? Puro sikat yun eh. Oo. Baka mas maganda pa, magawa ka na lang ng program na sarili mo sa Manila Bay kaysa i-require mo yung mga mayor ng NCR. Walang sinusunod yung mayor ng NCR. Ang kapatid ko, mayor ng NCR, pagkatigas-tigas ng ulo. So I don't think your local government can enforce the mayors of NCR to follow you. Baka mas maganda pa, gumawa na lang kayo ng project sa Manila Bay para may masabi kayo na yung DILG tumulong sa paglilinis ng Manila Bay.
Actually, ma'am, 187 LGUs po lahat ito Region 3 at saka part of Region 4A at sa NCR. Tapos kasama rin po naman yung capacitation. And aside from that, ma'am, yung talagang mismong up, involved po yung buong agencies under DILG. At very visible po kami ito. Before the pandemic po, every week talaga we are there cleaning up the Manila Bay and including areas adjacent to Manila Bay. But we will also come up with
Maybe you
possible
can
projects
provide
also.
me what you're doing in Manila Bay, so I will know, so that when I'm oversight functions ako dyan kasi DNR and DA ano yan, concern sa Manila Bay kasi the Manila Bay is the home of the 300,000 fisher folks. And at the same time, DNR yan, and I'm chairman of the Committee on Agriculture and Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Para masasabi ko din sa iyo, General, kung nakikita ko yung mga tao mo doon, pag kami ay may mga program sa Manila Bay. So, can you furnish me a copy of your program in Manila Bay so we will know, okay? Thank you very much. And
Yes, ma'am, we will do that.
And the last question is about Region 7. Okay. Alam nyo, palagi kami sinusulatan ng governor ng Negros Oriental na siya daw ay tingin niya, inaapi na siya doon ng PNP. Oo. Yung kanyang gwardiya, hinuli ng PNP at hanggang ngayon ay naandun pa sa Cebu, hindi pinapakawalan when yung guardian niya daw ay nagsabi kasi police yun, kasi siguro naman ang governor is entitled to police protection, gusto na nag-volunteer na daw mag-resign, wag na lang ikulong. Oo, dahil pinipilit na mag-witness against the governor, syempre hindi naman siya magagawa yun, so ayaw siya palabasin doon sa kulungan. Is the PNP chief in Region 7 here to answer the questions and explain to us ano ba yung problema na yun sa Negros Oriental?
Ma'am, the Chief Philippine National Police, Gerald Cascolan, will answer the question. Gerald Cascolan, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Ma'am, Your Honor, actually the Provincial Director, Colonel Bonson, the previous one has already been changed. We already have Colonel Demot, somebody from Region Pro 1 and had served in Pro Corps also. He's not known to anyone, not even the congressman or the governor. I have already talked to the governor. Colonel Demot should have been there last week, but because of the quarantine that he has to follow, he will be reporting tomorrow, ma'am, this Friday.
Can you give me a written report of what you're saying? So we will
Yes,
have some sort of a paper na ganito nga ang nangyari doon, kasi parang tingin ko you're a governor, you're entitled naman to something, di ba? You were not elected governor for nothing, di ba? Sana naman itatratong mabuti yung isang gobernador, di ba? And they have been writing to us, hindi lang sa akin, several senators.
Yes.
And dapat bigyan naman natin ng respect yung governor ng Negros Oriental. Kawawa naman siya. In fact,
Senator Villar?
Yes, thank you. Senator Amy, maybe you can talk also.
Yes, I would just like to reiterate Senator Villar's request for assistance from the PNP with warning that's been made time and time again that the police should not be politicking. Kasi yun ang accusation. Sa dinami-dami ng problema doon sa Negros Oriental, nagkakagulo pa sa encounters with the NPA, dadagdagan pa natin ng mga private army na sinasabing ginagamit yung PNP, hindi naman yata maganda ang record natin doon. So sana mabago na po yun. Alam rin ni General Dick De Leon, marami ng panic call ang aming kaibigan na gobernador doon, pati yung kanyang mga mayor. Siguro naman magagawa na ng paraan ng PNP yan na hindi sila magamit at masangkot sa politika. Yun lang po. Support lang kay Senator Villar.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to also support Senator Villar and Senator Aimee on this. Kasi mabait po yung governor doon, si Governor Digamo. In fact, ma'am, he hosted us during our campaign there, di ba?
Yes,
Nung
yes.
kampanya tayo doon with Senator Aimee. Thank you, madam.
At saka, nais kong sabihin kay General Anyo, si Governor Digamo po ay isang simpleng citizen. In fact, they did not expect that he will win as governor of Negros Oriental kasi syempre Negros Oriental, sanay na mga asyendero ang mga nagiging gobernador doon. Siya yata ang first common tao na naging gobernador ng Negros Oriental. So, sana isuporta natin para to prove to people na kahit simpleng tao ka, you can be a governor and at the same time, poprotektahan ka ng government in case medyo inaapi ka. Yun lang po. With that last question, alam nyo, Secretary Anyo, bilib na bilib ako sa inyo. Alam ko na napakabait niyong tao. We have been together so many times and napaka-low profile nyo. Sana sabihan nyo naman yung inyong mga head sa mga regions and sa mga probinsya na dapat mabait din ang mga pulis, di ba? Kasi kayo ang first line ng gobyerno sa mga tao. Pag yung mga pulis, nakikita nila na bad example, nawawala sila ng trust sa gobyerno. Kaya you are on the front line, yung mga pulis nyo. Di ba yung mga firemen, pag may sunog lang natin nakikita, pero yung mga policeman, araw-araw natin nakikita. Pag nakikita natin na hindi maganda ang trabaho, syempre nagre-reflect sa buong PNP. Kaya I hope, Secretary Anyo, that you would ask them to behave. Para naman good example sila to the people. Yun lang po. Marami pong salamat at maraming salamat sa aking mga fellow senators at sa ating chairman at saka sa the rest of the DILG. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you,
Yes,
Vice
ma'am.
Chair.
We will make sure for that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Villar. We hope, Sec Anyo, you can address the concerns raised by our Vice Chair, Senator Villar. We'll go now to Senator Nancy to be followed by Vice Chair Risa Ontiveros afterwards. Go ahead, Senator Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon kay Secretary Anyo and to the whole DILG.
Good afternoon po.
Siguro para kay Fire Director Embang.
Yes, ma'am. He's here. Fire Director Embang.
Ngayon ho ba halos lahat ng mga munisipyo may fire trucks na?
Wala pa, ma'am. Meron lang po kaming kailangan pang mga 1,000 plus. Kung mamarapatin yung i-present ko yung status, ma'am, madali lang.
Sige po. Sige po.
Sa ngayon po, ma'am, ay meron po kaming 2,900 plus. At included na dyan yung 500 plus na LGU owned. So yung...
Sa ilan
yes, ma'am.
lang?
Kailangan po, sa ngayon, ma'am, kailangan pa po namin ng 1,000 plus. Or all in all, 909 plus, less than 1,000 sa current number ng fire truck namin.
So may close to 1,000 municipalities who sa ngayon ang wala pang fire trucks.
Yes, ma'am. Ang wala pang mga fire stations ay 228 na kailangan ng mga fire truck. Ang fire trucks na kailangan namin ngayon ay less than 1,000 at ito ay intended na i-refleet yung mga lumang fire trucks na 20 years above at i-field ito yung iba sa mga wala pang mga fire trucks, Your Honor.
Sige. Bali, Fire Director Embang, dun sa talagang wala pang fire trucks, ilan ho yun? At ilan naman yung i-refleet naman for next year?
Munisipyo 269.
Sa munisipyo, ma'am, na kailangang lagyan ng fire trucks ay 269.
Okay. Ito, wala talaga hutong fire trucks. Never nagkaroon.
Wala, ma'am, wala.
At yung i-refleet ho?
At ang i-refleet na fire stations, both cities and municipalities, ay 1,100 plus, ma'am. I will give you the exact details later on.
Okay, and then for next year's budget, ilan ho ang mababawas dito sa 269 tsaka dun sa 1,000 plus na refit?
For 2021, ma'am, ay 64 units ang idadagdag. At so for 2020 ay ka-award lang namin yung 64 units at meron po tayong 1,026 na ongoing ang procurement sa PITC, Your Honor.
Sige. Director Embang, baka can you just submit to sa committee yung listahan na itong mga wala pa talagang fire trucks at itong i-refleet nyo naman?
Yes, ma'am. We'll do it.
Tapos a few years back, di ba nagkaroon tayo ng ODA for the fire truck? Ano na ho nangyari dito? Natuloy ho ba yung project na ito?
652 po, nasa atin na.
Yes, ma'am. Yan yung Rosenbauer na 76 plus 76 units na gagamitan ng Bureau of Fire ngayon, ma'am.
Nagagamit niya na. O, kasi sayang din naman kung nandyan na yan, nandito na yan, tapos hindi rin pala natin magagamit. So, at least ngayon, nagagamit na ho itong Rosenbauer fire truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Director Embang. And we will just wait for your submission. Kay Secretary Anyo, dun sa kaninang presentation nyo, kasama ho din sa programa nyo is yung Balik Probinsya, Bagong Pag-asa Program, and bahagi din yung COVID-19. Ano ang magiging participation ng DILG dun sa Balik Probinsya? And how much ho dun sa pondo, I think 3.2 billion yung nakalaan sa programa na ito, ang mapupunta sa DILG?
Kukunin ko lang po yung data, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, Madam.
Ito-tweet natin yung ibang mga deliverable.
Ma'am, wala po kaming budget na nakalaan for the Balik Probinsya. But we are part of the Balik Probinsya Council because we are the ones to coordinate with the different LGUs, the exodus or the return of many kababayans, particularly from the National Capital Region, going to the different areas. So wala po talaga nakalaan na budget for us for the Balik Probinsya.
Okay. And for COVID po, meron ho bang nakalaan sa budget nyo? Aside from the Bayani funding.
For the COVID, ma'am, ang nakalaan lang po sa amin yung 5 billion na nandun sa Bayanihan 2. Yung pong 1.5 billion na nakalaan sa LGSF, ito naman po ay DBM naman ang talagang nagmamahal sa pondo na to. We are just recommendatory kung ano po yung mga LGU na mas nangangailangan. For our budget for the 2021, being the DILG, the front runner, kasama po kami dito sa pag-implement ng mga National Action Plan. Pero unlike DOH po, wala po specific na funds for procurement of any COVID equipment or medicines. We'll still be more on supervising our LGUs in incapacitating in COVID response, Mr. Chair, Madam Senator.
And Secretary, I think pagdating ho dun sa contact tracing, DILG ho atang magiging lead agency sa hiring. Can we just get an update?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'll give the floor to Yusek Bernie Flores, who is in charge of the hiring and the activities of contact tracing. Yusek Bernie Flores, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, we were given 5 billion out of the Bayanihan Act 2. That is for the hiring of 50,000 contact tracers. So far,
Yusek, magkano ang bayad natin for contact tracer?
18,714, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Now we have already 55,213 applicants and 47,000 of which were already processed. Officially hired, 10,136, Your Honor.
Yusek, yung 10,000, I guess, naka-spread naman yan all over the country. Siguro kahit for submission na lang to the committee, yung breakdown kung saan itong 10,000.
Yes, Your Honor, we will submit the...
And then for the 50,000, ilan yung allocation nyo din per, I don't know, paano nyo ba hinate? Per province o per region?
Per region, Your Honor, and then our regional directors have their respective allocation in the provinces, cities, and municipalities.
Sige, Yusek, siguro for submission lang kung tag-iilan sila per region.
Yes, Your Honor, we will submit.
Yun na lang, yun pa ko. Is there... Meron pa, Yusek? O tapos na yung data?
They will submit, sabi nila. Do you want him to present it now, Senator Nancy?
No, for submission lang.
Okay.
Sige, going back dun sa contact tracing, meron bang platform yung DILG? Kasi alam naman, well, based from my experience, ang nagiging problema natin sa contact tracing is yung, for example, taga Bulacan yung nag-positive, pero pumunta siya dito sa Manila para magpa-test. So dito na siya naabutan at dito na rin siya, I guess, magko-quarantine at mag-isolate. But yung to inform yung mga tao dun sa probinsya na pinanggalingan niya, meron ba tayong platform or is there a hotline or meron ba tayong computer program na kung saan madali nating nababato dun sa probinsya na yun na dito may nag-positive pero talagang residente nyo ito. May ganun bang sistema na gagamitin tayo for contact tracing?
Yes, Your Honor. Normally, if the contact tracer can do face-to-face contact with the positive or the close contact, then he will do that. If it's not possible for him to have a face-to-face, then he can just contact to other means of communication. If that contact go to another LGU or place, then that contact tracer will just coordinate with where that close contact goes, and it will be turned over to the contact tracer of where he or she went. So there must be a coordination among contact tracers. But of course,
so paano to, Yusek? Parang meron ba kayong call center set up? Ganun ba yun? Na, kunyari dito sa NCR, may call center, pwede siyang magbato sa call center ng Batangas, call center ng Bulacan for contact tracing? I mean, how will we, paano ba yung pag-operate netong contact tracing on the ground? Kasi di ba para mag-hire na tayo ng civil accountant, wala naman pala tayong sistema kung paano i-report yung isang nag-positive. Parang we're
meron po. Mr. Chair, meron po. Meron po kasi tayong, sa National Task Force, meron po tayong sub-task group po for contact tracing. At DILG po yung nangunguna dito. At bawat probinsya at municipalidad city, meron pong tinatawag na contact tracing teams na ang nangunguna po dito ang CESU, LESU. Ito po yung mga City Epidemiological Surveillance Units at normally po yung Chief of Police naman po ang ating Vice Chair. Ang pinaka-boss po nila ay ang Mayor. Kaya po ang coordination namin through either LGU ay mabilis din po. Initially po, ang isang positive person, nire-recon yan kung taga saan siya at doon siya papasok doon sa counting ng LGU na yon. Except if he is a worker, a construction worker or employee that are actually in-house in a particular LGU, doon po siya papasok. And then as the contact tracing teams will interview the positive, makukuha po niya lahat ng pangalan. Ibinabato po niya yan doon sa corresponding CESU sa ibang LGUs to ensure that they can cover that particular suspect. So at the end of the day po ay yung subtask group nagtatali po para walang duplication. In fact, kung mag-duplication man po ay okay rin, ibig sabihin na-cover sila. But we have to reconcile the numbers so that we cannot state the number of contacts and the positive. This is a work in progress, plus yung mga application po na ginagamit natin katulad nung Stay Safe at iba pang ginagamit na LGUs through the DICT naman po ay naka-link up naman. So marami pa pong i-improve pero at least po it's a working system now and we are able to account the suspects and the positives nationwide.
With the indulgence of Senator Nancy, I think I know what she's driving at. I think gusto ni malaman ni Senator Nancy Sec Anyo is in real time, nako-coordinate ba with the hospitals or the health system? Nag-uusap ba yung health system with the interior local government network? Kasi ang sinasabi niya minsan galing sa probinsya, na-hospital po sa Manila in one of the hospitals. Nasasabi ba is that data captured in real time by the interior government, interior and local government network of contact tracers? Kasi yung contact tracing must be done in real time, otherwise it's ineffective, Sec.
Sa totoo po, Mr. Chair, ang aming time period is within 24 hours. Dapat within 24 hours ay napuntahan yung positive at saka yung close contact. At the end of the day po, nare-reconcile namin yung data. Sa task group, kasama
sorry,
yung ibang...
Yes, sorry to interrupt, no? Sorry to interrupt. But I think the ground zero is the hospital, yung pagka nalaman na, o kaya either the hospital or the testing center that where that person tested positive. So yun, saan binabato yun? Binabato ba kagad sa inyo yun?
Yes po, Mr. Chair. Totoo yan, binabato sa amin kagad yan. Pero actually po, it starts with the contact tracing. Kasi before you test the person, dapat na contact trace muna sila. So talagang ang ground zero namin is the contact tracing team, the first contact or the first communication with the close contact. Because we have to quarantine already the close contact. So even pa bago lumabas yung test niya from the lab center or from the hospital, naka-zero na po kami doon sa tao na yon. Nagsimula na yung contact tracing, even sa second generation and third generation contacts. Ibig sabihin, yung na-contact ng positive, tapos immediately yung na-contact ng first contact, which is the second generation. So doon po kami nagsisimula.
Paano kung first generation? Paano kung first generation? Nandun na kayo sa second and third, pero paano yung first person na nakuha niya yung virus? Then you have to work from him, di ba?
Yes, ang ano po kasi ang 1:37 ang ideal ratio sa contact tracing. The 37 is composed of the initial first generation and even second and third. 24 hours dapat po makatch up namin yung 37 na ito. Although in some cases nasa 1:15 lang kasi because of our minimum health standards, kukunti lang po ang papasok sa definition ng close contact. Unlike kung walang minimum health standards, talaga pong aabot ng 50 to 100 yung specs natin. So, mabilis po, mabilis.
Check, sandali lang Kasi parang I think Senator Nancy wants to make a point about the information dissemination. Go ahead, Senator Nancy.
And Mr. Chair, para mas malinaw, siguro let's cite an example. For example, ako, based from my experience, dalawang kakilala ko na hindi naman sila taga Makati, galing sila sa ibang probinsya, pero dito sila nagpa-test. So nag-positive. So dito na sila inabutan ng quarantine. As an ordinary citizen, paano ngayon mako-contact trace yung mga iniwanan nandun sa probinsya? Pupuntahan ba siya ng contact trace?
Ma'am, first, the testing center or the hospital, they are mandated to report both to the DOS and to the LGU. Secondly, ma'am, yung ating mga citizen based doon sa RA 11332, dapat po talaga lahat ng ating mamamayan, kung sila ay na-test may symptoms, magre-report din dapat po sila sa kanilang barangay or LGU. Kaya po yun yung talagang dapat susundin na responsibilidad. Kasi if they will just keep the information or let's say hide the information, there will really be a problem and it will actually cascade and probably even exponentially cause the trouble, Madam Chair, Madam Senator.
Ano, I mean, meron ho, nag-rent ba ang DILG ng facility, kunwari office space, kung saan ito yung magiging parang doon babato lahat ng data? Meron ba yung gano'ng facility ngayon for contact tracing?
Opo, una-una po, meron din kaming COVID Kaya application. Ito po yung COVID Kaya, sa lahat yung LGU, yung DOH. Pagkatapos yung ating pong mga SESU at saka Chief of Police, ay dyan po nakalocate yung ating contact tracing teams natin. So ibig sabihin po, dyan po talaga ang hub ng pag-contact tracing sa bawat municipality at city.
And yung mga contact tracers natin will be equipped with, I don't know, may cellphone. Po-provide na ba sila ng cellphone kung saan ma-access nila itong COVID Kaya nyo na software or...
Ang ating pong budget for the 5 billion na budget ay meron din po tayong kasama dong MOE na doon po namin kukunin yung mga pambili ng ganyan. Tapos secondly po, sa tulong ng mga LGUs.
Wait, election, ibig sabihin wala.
Ang existing po meron because of the LGUs. Ang ating po mga mayors, ang mga pinuno ng contact tracing teams and they provide all the resources, Mr. Chair.
Siguro, Sec, kaya ko lang talagang, kumbaga, kinukuha, Mr. Chair, yung detalye. Kasi as we are opening our katulad today, di ba, today we are opening Boracay for tourists. Di ba, pag may nag-positive dyan na isa, dalawa, are we prepared to contact trace everybody? Is the system in place for us to contact trace?
There will be challenges, Mr. Chair, but there are enough safeguards also to ensure that we can do contact tracing, like the use of QR code, the mandatory filling up of the health declaration, and then ensuring also that the hotels, accommodations are also capacitated on how to ensure that all information are gathered before any tourists will check in. It's really a very laborious task, Mr. Chair, but somehow we are able to cope and manage.
Yun lang siguro, Mr. Chair, na sana, Secretary, tutukan natin kasi base na experience ko, Mr. Chair, parang kulang pa sa information dissemination pagdating dun sa baba, lalong-lalo na dun sa mga barangay officials. Kasi ilang beses na nangyari sa akin na may nag-positive, in-inform yung barangay, tapos hindi nila pag sinabihan kung saan yung quarantine facility, kung saan pwede dalhin yung asymptomatic na pasyente, parang wala silang mabigay or hindi nila alam. So, I mean, the whole time, itong positive na ito, nandun lang sa bahay at nag-aantay at hindi alam kung anong gagawin. So, sana matutukan lang po yan because napakahalaga talaga na, kumbaga, maaga pa lang, mahinto na natin yung pag-spread ng virus. Yun na lang, Mr. Chair, and maraming salamat, Secretary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Senator.
Very good points, Senator Nancy. We'll go now to Vice Chair Risa. Then after her is Senator Bong Revilla. Vice Chair.
Salamat, Mr. Chairman, at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Magandang hapon din po, Secretary Anyo. Yung una ko pong, actually single issue lang po na nais ko pong itanong sa inyo, Sec Anyo, tungkol din sa NTF-LCAC. Salamat, sir. This good secretary of the DILG has been defending the 16.4 billion peso allocation for the Barangay Development Program of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, yung NTF-ELCAC nga po. This will be accessed by barangays certified as cleared by the NTF-ELCAC. So I have a few questions related to this that perhaps the Secretary of the DILG can help us with. Una po, Sec, just to be on the same page, the 822 barangays identified to be affected by the communist insurgency, will they all receive 20 million pesos each or only if they are cleared?
Madam Senator, all these barangays, 822, have been cleared by the AAP and the PNP from 2016 to 2019. Ang barangay development projects po ang culmination nitong clearing operations effort ng AAP para po naman makita, matapos pong malaman yung problema ng mga barangay, ito na po yung kasagutan ng mga development projects. Yung 20 million po ay cap lang po yon. It could be less, depende sa pangangailangan ng barangay. At based din po doon sa convergence na identify through the Barangay Development Council, kung ano po yung kailangang project, ayun po i-apply. At ito pong projects na to ay, ang pondo po ay direktang i-release po sa LGU. Wala pong ahensyang hahawak ng pondo na ito.
Salamat, Sec. Ngayon, because 822 times 20 million is exactly 16.4 billion, pwede pong i-assume na yung provision ay nagko-contemplate na, yun na nga, bawat isa sa 822 ay tatanggap ng 20 million. Sabi nyo, cap, pero posibleng ganon. So, tama po ba yun?
Opo. Yes, opo. Kasi po, i-maximize na rin po natin yung anumang tulong na may bibigay sa barangay. Kaya po may combination po siya ng iba't ibang proyekto. Pero dapat ay nandoon lang sa menu yung mga projects na yon. Hindi po pwedeng i-divert nila sa ibang activity.
Understood, Sec. Ngayon, i-suppose po natin na kung biglang meron na namang NPA activity sa isang barangay or may maiulat, may mai-allege na NPA activity sa isang barangay, yung barangay po ba na iyon ay hindi na i-consider na cleared and therefore hindi na matatanggap yung maximum of 20 million? Tama po ba yun?
Hindi po ma'am, considered pa rin cleared yun sapagkat yung pagdaan ng mga NPA ay beyond control of the barangay. But ang importante po na being cleared, in fact, the people of those barangays already denounced the communist movement and at the same time ay buong loob nilang nagsupport sa gobyerno dahil doon po sa mga dating barangay na yan, nung sila ay under pa ng influence, mayroon po mga existing organization dyan, yung tinatawag pong sangay ng partido sa lokalidad or party branch. So, nung makli po ay wala na sila at nagkaroon pa sila ng panibagong counter organizations and considered clear rin po sila. Samantalang ang AP at PNP naman ay nagpo-focus sa iba pang mga areas na hindi pa na-clear for 2020.
Pero at least para dun sa mga taong sinabi nyo, Sec, na tama po ba? 2017 hanggang 2019.
2016 po hanggang 2019.
2016 rather, hanggang 2019. Yung NTF-ELCAC po ang nag-set ng criteria at siya po yung nag-issue ng certification? Clear
ito
na?
po, ang clearing operation po ay ginagawa ng AAP,
Yes,
mula pa po nung mula pa po ng panahon ng administration ni President Gloria Arroyo. Meron pong joint letter directive na sinusundan ng AP at PNP para mag-qualify po kung clearing na sila. Ang naging role lang po ng NTF-ELCAC ay tumulong para po makapagpa-budget at mapunan yung pangako ng gobyerno na maibigay ang development sa mga probinsyang mahihirap na sa mga barangay na mahihirap na ito. Ginawang issue upang sila ay ma-influence ng communist CPP-NPA.
Pero sino po, Sec, yung nagtakda ng criteria at sino po yung nagbigay ng certification na cleared na nga itong 822? Yung NTF-ELCAC rin po ba or iba pa?
Dito po sa validation clearing po, meron pa tinatawag na area clearing validation board. Ang pinuno po dyan ay ang governor ng probinsya. At ang miyembro po dyan ay iba't ibang ahensya rin, kasamang AAP-PNP. So hindi po masasabi na cleared ang isang barangay, kundi po yan in-approve ng governor. So nagsisimula po talaga ang validation sa grassroots po, Mr. Chair.
Nagsisimula po, Sec, yung validation sa grassroots, kasama po yung GOV dun sa board na sinabi ninyo. Pero, kumbaga, sino yung may final say na, tama, itong 822 ay cleared na at bibigyan natin sila ng tig-isang 822 certification. Kumbaga, kanino po yung last touch? Sa NTF-ELCAC po ba?
Hindi po, collective effort po yan eh. Pagka yan po ay na-certify na po ng governor, is po sa presentation, recommendation ng AAP-PNP, yung pong tinatawag na Joint Intelligence Validation Committee, sila po ay magpipresent at pag na-approve po, yun na po, cleared na po. So, sinasabit lang po ng AAP at saka ng PNP at LGUs yung mga na-clear na barangay sa NTF.
So, gusto ko lang i-piece together kasi Sec, kung paano ba nabuo rather, at paano magagamit itong listahang ito. So, ang napipick up ko po sa inyo, AFP at PNP po ang nag-set ng criteria, and then yung nag-certify ay isang board na kasama yung GOV, tama po ba?
Opo, yan po ay existing ever since pa po. Wala pa yung NTF-ELCAC, existing na po yan.
Okay po. So ano naman po ang value added ng NTF-ELCAC? Kumbaga, kung AFP at PNP na ang nagtakda ng criteria, tapos governor-led na board ang nag-certify, so ano pa po yung papel ng NTF-ELCAC ngayon?
Well, we need the commitment of the entire government machineries. Whereas before po, we treat the insurgency as a military problem. So, ang nangyayari po ay military solution lang. And we realize that this is not really a military problem. Rather, it is encompassing not only political, socio-economic problems that affects the lives of the people. So, kailangan po yung buong whole of nation ay mag natin kasi nga di ba ang nangyayari si DA may sariling project pero hindi naman nakatuon sa mga barangay na naapektuhan ng NPA. Ito pong si DOH o si DepEd magpapatay ng host ng mga eskwelahan. Hindi naman din po sa mga malalayong lugar na apektado ng NPA. So with the NTF-ELCAC po, lahat ng mga ahensya ay nakatuon lang doon sa mga barangays na apektado ng communist insurgency. And then, you have to contribute. At wala na pong tatanggi at mag-oppose sapagkat isang direction, our aim is to stop the communist insurgency, not by military solution, but actually solving the roots of the cause of the conflict or the insurgency.
I completely agree, Sec, lalo na dun sa huling statement nyo. At para sa akin, susi din po yung nauna nyo pang sinabi na kahit insurgency, it is not solely and not primarily a military problem. Kaya nga, ito nga po yung actually ugat nung pagtatanong ko sa inyo kung bakit sa buong script na kailangan natin para tugunan ng iba't ibang problema ng ating bansa, kung in terms even particularly of the insurgency, kung ano pa yung what does an NTF-ELCAC bring to the table, mas gusto ko pa nga na yung department nyo, DILG, ang patuloy na mauna kahit sa ganitong mga yung dinescribe nyo sa amin na certification process led by a board, headed by the governor, yung pong civilian local government official. Ito pa po, Sec, just to help me understand better, no? Kung halimbawa po, kung cleared na ang mga barangay at meron na rin mga na-identify na projects, binanggit nyo kanina, napaka-importante ng role ng mga local development councils. So, bakit hindi na lang ito idaan sa mga existing programs, na mga existing ahensya tulad nung sa inyo at tulad ng DA, DSWD, DepEd, DPWH, etc. 2016 pa pala ito. So, kumbaga, klarong nakaset naman na yung mga line agencies, and na-appreciate ko rin po yung discussion nyo kanina about salintubig, halimbawa, in terms of addressing the roots of armed conflict. So, bakit hindi na lang ipagpatuloy ito? Kumbaga, parang may umeksena pa na NTF-ELCAC, kahit malinaw naman na yung script ng good local governance of the interior para tugunan kahit yung mga ugat ng insurgency. So, parang miscast ang isang NTF-ELCAC, Sec.
Ma'am, kasi ma'am, ang NTF-ELCAC naman actually is a coordinative body lang naman po. Kasi most of the department are working in silos. So, wala pong tinatawag na convergence. Yun lang naman po yung role. Pero nakadevolve din po sa iba't ibang ehensya yung mga pagpapatupad ng ibang mga programa. Ang importante lang naman kasi yung basic service delivery ng itong mga services from different agencies talaga po makarating. Tapos yung ma-ensure din po yung participation ng citizenry at ng community para hindi naman po na i-decide lang yung national government. Kasi tulad halimbawa po, binigyan mo siya ng bangka, wala naman palang ilugdog kanila. So kailangan po manggagaling talaga doon sa participation ng citizens at coordinated po yung peace law enforcement na kasama rin po sa kumbaga participatory governance. Ayaw na po natin ng kanya-kanya eh. So the NTF-ELCAC siguro pa masyadong na overstated lang po, but it is just a coordination converging body po.
Well, sir, I'm sorry hindi lang overstated, overfunded. Kasi sabi nyo, coordinative body po lamang, ngunit may 16 billion pesos. At saka, Sec, honestly, I have never heard before, kahit ako'y nasa opposition, I have never heard na ang gobyerno or ang mga ahensya ay working in silos. No, ang dami nyo na pong coordinative bodies over the past years hanggang ngayon, yung Development Budget Coordinating Council lang, yung NEDA itself, and yung mga programa nyo like Pamana, etc. Reflect also that coordinative aspect ng governance pati po ng development work natin. So finally, Sec, about this NTF-ELCAC, let me be candid po about my concern. The Sec has said previously that this 16.4 billion pesos is not in aid of re-election. Pero meron pong task force, itong NTF-ELCAC nga po, hindi po siya regular line agency tulad ng DILG, hindi po siya regular na opisina. Task force lamang, determining whether which barangays remain cleared or not per yung sinabi ng board, ng GOV, ng AFP-PNP, which barangay projects should be approved or not dun sa menu, and possibly denying some barangays in favor of others. So it still seems to me po, Sec, na it could be used for political favors. Could the good secretary please comment on that?
Well, number one, ma'am, sabi ko nga yung barangays, dumating po sa NTF-ELCAC through the validation. Wala pong say ang NTF-ELCAC kung anong barangay ang aalisin at pipiliin. Wala rin pong pondong may iwan sa NTF-ELCAC. Lahat po ay direktang i-release sa LGU. Tapos yung pong 822 barangays, they are all far-flung isolated barangays. Hindi rin po siya rich barangays. Kaya hindi rin po talaga pwede sabihin may connection sa election. And even the president po, wala rin po siyang kapangyarihan para ilipat ang pondo sapagkat ito po ay nakatuon na po sa mga LGUs. So wala pong may iwang pondo sa NTF-ELCAC. Talagang ang makikinabang po yung 122 barangays, yung constituents niya na matagal na pong nakaligtaan din ng pamahalaan para maibigay yung mga projects na ito.
Sec, napapansin ko lang po na marami po sa sinasabi nyo tungkol sa NTF-ELCAC ay may salitang wala. So talagang lalong nare-reinforce yung sense ko na lahat ng supposed na trabahong gagawin ng NTF-ELCAC ay in fact spoken for na ng mga existing agencies natin na many of you ay nagko-coordinate na rin talaga dati. So talagang nagmumukhang surplusage pa rin itong NTF-ELCAC. So it's either masyado lang grasyoso ang secretary nag-isip ng task force na ito, or well, imposible hindi alam ng secretary yung nangyayari. So pasensya na lang, ganun pa rin ang impression ko na I still believe it is the existing line agencies na dapat patuloy na nagbabalikat ng iba't ibang mandato na sinasabi niyong parang i-coordinate lang ng NTF-ELCAC. Feeling ko hindi lang siya miscast, pero yun nga surplusage siya, para siyang sumisingit lang sa eksena or sa cast na ito. Lastly po about this issue, Sec, the Secretary has said in many of his interviews that the 16.4 billion peso fund is needed to address yun na nga po, the root causes of the insurgency, or presumably the socio-economic causes. So if government is keen to address the root causes of the insurgency or even poverty itself, then why was the fund of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, OPAP, slashed from 19 billion to 700 million? So budget po yan ng isang ahensya na may aktual na mandato para i-address yung insurgency, pero na-slash. Samantalang yung isang mere task force ni hindi department, no, task force lang siya, bibigyan siya ng kitty na mas mataas pa sa budget ng DOLE, mas mataas pa sa budget ng OWA. So yun yung concern ko talaga. Yes, Chair. Yes,
Just to
Chair.
inform you, you have 2 minutes left now, just so you can manage your time. Thank you.
Will do, Chair. Salamat po. So just a brief manifestation na lang po about DILG, and then if I can put on the record yung tig-isang tanong ko rin para sa PNP at saka PCW for them to respond to whether in writing, Chair, through our committee, or kung may second round pa tayo, if ever. So marami manifestation po for the record, Mr. Chair, marami sa aking mga kasama sa Partido Akbayan ay naging biktima ng NPA. At ako bilang aktivista at mambabatas ay naniniwala sa mapayapang landas ng pagbabago. Ngunit ako'y nagitla na sa gitna ng isang pandemya, may 16 billion plus para sa communist insurgency, habang ang budget para sa Health Facilities Enhancement Program o HFEP, which is the budget for creating more rural health units, more healthcare facilities, and improving the infrastructure of existing ones, is only 4.7 billion. So halos 1/4 lang. And the budget for the epidemiological surveillance units o ESUs is only 112 million. Kahit na 547 million ang hiningi ng DOH para sa ESU. So, and why are ESUs important? They collect and monitor data about the spread of notifiable diseases, including COVID-19. Ang dami nating contact tracers, yung tinatanong ni Sen. Nancy kanina, pero kung wala silang ESU na pagre-reportan, wala din. Alam niyo po, may nabalitaan ako na kwento ng kababayan natin na may severe symptoms of COVID, namatay na lang sa parking lot habang nilalagyan ng ventilator dahil hindi na ma-accommodate sa loob ng ospital. At kahapon naman po sa hearing ko ng Committee on Women, nalaman ko ang daming mga buntis na hindi na maasikaso sa mga ospital dahil punong-puno na ng COVID patients. Sa mga ESU naman, only 2 out of 79 dapat na provincial ESUs, 11 of 16 dapat regional ESUs, and 9 of 135 dapat na city ESUs are functional. For which reasons, Mr. Chair, at the proper time, I'll be making a formal motion to realign the 16.4 billion peso funds to the HFEP program and to our epidemiology surveillance units. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, for the record, yung itatanong ko sana sa Philippine National Police at maaring tugunan nila through the chair, gusto ko po sanang mag-introduce at the proper time, again, Mr. Chair, ng amendments sa proposed PNP budget, as well as special provisions to double up our efforts at protecting our fisheries resources and the livelihoods of our municipal fisherfolk sa paraan po ng pagdagdag sa budget ng PNP Maritime Group. And last and certainly not the least, again for the record, Mr. Chairman, para sa Philippine Commission on Women, ay gusto ko rin po at the proper time mag-move na madagdagan po yung budget ng Philippine Commission on Women, lalo na sa panahon ngayon na mas lumilitaw at nasya-sharpen sa mata natin yung gendered impacts of COVID-19. So maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Marami pong salamat sa inyo, Sec. Anyo. and dear colleagues.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Risa. Sen Bong, are you going to ask a lot of questions? Kasi I wanted to give Sec Anyo a chance to go use the toilet and the other resource persons also.
Sige.
Kasi
Go ahead. It's okay.
okay lang ba?
It's gonna be
3-minute break.
long.
3-minute break lang, oh.
Minutes. Oh, no
Okay,
problem.
you want to go ahead? Kasi kung
No,
manifestation lang, I'll let you go
It's
ahead.
okay. Okay. I
Is
can
that all right?
minutes.
Yeah, with your indulgence and the indulgence of the minority leader, just to be more humane, siguro, we'll suspend for 3 minutes for a health break. We'll see you all in 3 minutes again, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. or we'll give the floor to Senator Bong Revilla for his questions. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ilang katanungan lamang para sa ating Chief PNP. Last September 15, I sent a letter to your office and also to General Agustin of the PNP Cybercrime Office requesting on a report on your implementation of RA 10175 or the Cybercrime Prevention Act. One of the reasons I sent that letter is because Interpol reported an alarming rate of cyber attacks during COVID-19 pandemic. On a global scale, maraming nabibiktima ang cyber criminals sa pamamagitan ng online scams, phishing, identity theft, at fake news, at misinformation. Hindi lang mga individual users ang nabibiktima. Ayon sa kanila, maging ang mga malalaking korporasyon, mga pamahalaan, mga critical infrastructure ay nabibiktima din. They are also projecting further increase in cybercrime in the near future. Further, NBI said that phishing cases increased by 200%. Along this line, DOJ also reported a nearly 270% increase in the number of reported online sexual exploitation of children during three-month quarantine period. Having said that, I hope that the PNP will send their reply soon to my formal request for a copy of their report on the implementation of the Cybercrime Prevention Act. Everything is shifting to online and virtual at lalo pang napapabilis itong shift dahil sa pandemya when everyone is at home. Pati nga mga transaksyon at libangan naging online na. Dahil dito napakarami mga predators na ang nagsulputan, all it takes is for you to go online at kitang-kita ang talamak na kalokohang nangyayari for scams, for illegal raffles and gambling, to online falsities, and to the more serious online violence. Kahit nga bentahan ngayon ng illegal drugs at ibang pinagbabawal na epektos, online na rin. Unahin na muna natin itong online falsities na tinatawag ng karamihan na fake news. Pero sa katotohanan ay mas malalim pa kaysa sa fake news ito. Hindi lang kasi fake news ang pinepeke nito. This involves the faking and stealing of identities and willful and deliberate spreading of falsehood and lies with the purpose not only to mislead but to cause general confusion and sometimes fear. Meron bang pag-aaral at report ang PNP kung gaano na po kalaganap itong online falsity sa ating bansa at kung sino ang nasa likuran nito? PNP Chief, General Cascolan, may answer.
Yes, sir. With respect to Secretary Anyo, sir, may I answer the question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
General Cascola.
Your Honor, it's very, very true. What the Senator said was very true. And as of now, even though with a lot of operations and accomplishments that we have done, there are still a lot of scammers and at the same time predators in the cyberspace. Basically, it's not just units or organizations that have been hacked, but even individuals have been hacked and been created fake Facebook accounts and whatever. But considering that we are right now in the IT age, sir, the cybercrime together with ITMS or the Information Technology Management System is trying its best really to fight cyber crimes. In fact, we have conducted a lot of operations from July 2019 to 2020 with more or less 214 operations, and we have arrested 252 individuals. Also, 7 minors were rescued during this period. Among the highlights of the corporations are the arrest of a Nigerian who has amassed millions of pesos from the Filipino victims through the romance scam, and the arrest of a con artist who has been fraudulently milking money from high-profile individuals such as Senator Bongo by assuming identities of lawmakers. With this, sir, we have actually alerted all our anti-cybercrime units to monitor at least the cyberspace, the public cyberspace, so that we will be able to come up with an evaluation, proper monitoring, and the best, what we call the cyber patrol, and the best initiative that we would be able to at least minimize the cyber crimes in space.
Yes, may kakayahan ba ang PNP to identify these people? To anticipate na mas lalala pa ito because of the technology and circumstances. What proactive programs have you put in place?
Actually, sir, we have what you call the cyber patrol.
Okay.
But in as much as we are concerned, to be frank with you, sir, we are even being hacked by a lot of hackers outside of the organization.
Hindi magandang nangyayari na yan. So
Opo.
we have to do something about this. Go ahead, continue.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we requested funds.
We requested funds, actually, sir, from your office for the cybercrime development and capability enhancement capability in the amount of 385 million more or less. And we're hoping that you would be able to help us, sir.
Nandiyan ang
Thank you very much, sir.
medyo ano. So we move forward. We'll talk about the budget later, no? We move forward to more serious online violence. This is when technology, anonymity, and platforms are weaponized and used to target particular individual, organization, or a class of people. This goes beyond cyberbullying, no? Just recently, nating napakarami ang nagsasampa ng reklamo sa iba't ibang law enforcement agencies natin, punctuated by personalities who have fallen victim themselves. Dami na nagreklamo dyan, mga beauty queen pa iba, no? But ang grabing bastusan sa social media platform, iba't ibang klaseng kahalayan ang nandyan. Tapos mga banta ng panggagahasa, pananakot, pananakit, blackmail, pag-uudyok para magpakamatay ang isang individual. Prostitusyon, napakarami pang krimen nandyan sa Facebook na nangyayari. Just imagine if you were a parent of a 14-year-old girl, tapos yung anak mo, pinadadalhan ng messages, comments na re-raping siya. That is prevalent now. Can you give us an idea sa trend ng mga kaso involving online violence, let's say past 3 years, ano po ang mga status ng kasong ito, Chief Escolan?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we will give you the data as soon as we would be able to get it. But may I also state, sir, that we are closely monitoring together with the DICT. We have close coordination and cooperation with the DICT and other IT companies so that we would be able to cope with the capability of basically knowing or patrolling the cyberspace. We hope, sir, that we would be able to develop more of our capability in cybercrimes, against cybercrimes, I mean.
That's right. Nandiyan pa rin yung mga online gambling, nandiyan yung illegal drugs, di ba, Chief?
Yes.
Yung online selling scam, sa tingin ko, pinakamaraming nagaganap ngayon, ito yung online scam. This is more serious that it appears dahil involved dito yung mga identity theft. When seller steals the identities of people para makapag-transact. Tapos maglalaho na lang at iba na ang mapagbibintangan. We really have to do something about this, General Cascolan, no? Marami mga reports na sa isang tao lang nakakapanloko ng milyon collectively, no? Then there are reports na pag nagsumbong sa pulis, sasabihin lang ng pulis ay wala tayong magagawa diyan dahil wala tayong kakayahan. I think we really have to do something about this. That's why, Mr. Chair, ni-raise ko ito sa cybercrime. I think we really need to give them a budget. Alam ko ang problema natin, ito ngayon, ang hinaharap natin, itong pandemya. Pero itong cybercrime, ito yung actual, ito yung makabagong panahon na problema natin. Pero I don't think that we can provide that much money now na 300 million as needed. Pero siguro po pwede niyong i-itemize yan, General Cascolan, na mas mababa, no? Na ano ba yung immediate na kailangan lang para mahabol natin itong criminal na ito at mapanagot natin sa ating batas, no? Sa hukuman. At we should not allow these people na manatili yan dyan dahil sobra na ang mga panggigipit nila at wala na sa lugar. At yun lang, I think I have here yung request ninyo for software, social media monitoring, cyber terrorism response. Nandito yung ICT machinery and equipment. Total of 31 million. Siguro, for the meantime, magagawa ng paraan ng ating chairman nito, no? Siguro mahanapan natin ng pondo. Huwag naman yung 300 million. Siguro itong ganito po pwedeng mag-boss-boss tayo sa iba para mabahagian natin at mabigyan natin ng solusyon itong problema sa online, itong cyberbullying na ito. At before I end, Mr. Chair, I just spread into the record my full support to the budget of DILG now more than ever, considering the COVID-19 pandemic. We need to strengthen and capacitate DILG and its attached agencies with the budget they fully need. May I also put into the record my unwavering support in augmenting the budget to counter cybercrimes. Chief PNP, General Cascolan, you have my word that I will push for and facilitate the request of the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Office for additional budget. At hindi tayo pababayaan ng ating makisig na Senador Sani Angara. At sa inyo po lahat, maraming salamat. Marami na ako binibigay ng sakit na ulo sa Padre. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Bong, and we appreciate the points you made. Tama ka, cybercrime is talamak talaga ngayon at it's the new battlefield that we have to equip our law enforcers. You made a very good point, sir, and we'll do our best to kung ang chair ay makisig, lumalakas ang loob namin pag alam namin nasa likod kayo para sumuporta sa amin. Thank you, sir, Senator Bong.
Thank you.
Now we'd like to recognize our minority leader, who seems very amused. Senator Frank, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to direct my questions on the Secretary. Mr. Secretary, today, how much is the internal revenue allotment under our general appropriations?
I'll check with my data, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. $648.9 billion on IRA, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
And for 2021, how much is indicated in the National Expenditure Program for ERA?
Meron ka dyan. For 2021, it will be 695 billion, Mr. Chair.
And for 2022, how much is expected ERA?
The expected for 2022, kung hindi pa i-apply yung mandanas, it would be 848.44 billion. After the AC decision, if we are going to implement the mandanas ruling, it will be 1.083 trillion, an increase of 4.75%, Your Honor, on the GDP. At the percentage of GDP is 4.75%.
Just to be clear, Mr. Secretary, with the application of the mandanas ruling, and you have no choice but to apply that, it will be 1.083 trillion. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Apo, Mr. Chair.
Now, you know, Mr. Chairman, next year at this time, we will be confronted with a 1.83 trillion allocation for ERA for 2022, and I do not know what will happen with that kind of a burden on the national budget. But my next question is, your undersecretary or assistant secretary mentioned that there is an EO that would guide the implementation of the mandanas versus Ochoa ruling. What are those guidelines?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will refer it to Yusek Mab Sasendoncillo, please.
Thank you, Secretary. Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. The drafted executive order that would guide the implementation of the Supreme Court decision on the mandanas petition contains two major components. One component is defining where the money would come from, and research done by DBM and with other agencies points to the fact that there are still basic service programs that are being done by agencies with devolved services. Ito po yung unang kukunin sa national agencies at ilalagay po sa increased era ng local governments. The other component is capacity development, but it will start with the national agencies defining the minimum standards of service delivery for local governments and capacitating the LGUs so that they in turn can deliver these services. So basically ganun po yung laman ng executive order. May kaakibat din po, Your Honor, na mandato sa mga national agencies to do their transition plans and implement the transition plans in 2021. Kasama po dito halimbawa yung pag-define ng minimum service standards and a possible reconfiguration of the agencies whose services will be totally devolved to local governments. Yun po yung basically laman po ng executive order na yun, which has been drafted by the various agencies in consultation with local government leagues.
Very good. Can the committee be benefited by a copy of the EO even on the draft stage so that the Senate and particularly the Committee on Local Governments may have their inputs on this proposed EO?
Yes, Your Honor, we will provide the committee and the Finance Committee and also the Local Government Committee the draft of the executive order. This is spearheaded by the Department of Budget and Management, Your Honor.
See, okay, we just want to put that on record so that when your budget comes before the plenary for discussion, I hope that the copy will be available because we will ask for it. Now, Mr. Chairman, let us go to this capacity building assessment and the standards that must be complied with. Ma'am, suppose the LGU fails in your assessment that they have the capacity to handle these funds. What will happen?
Okay, in the executive order, a flexibility is provided to the LGUs who may not have the capacity to deliver by way of engaging the appropriate national agency to assist them in the delivery. But this will be governed by a memorandum of agreement between the local government and the specific national government agency. Kasi po, Your Honor, dito po pwedeng gawin ang holding muna ng national agency hanggang maging capable na po ang LGU to handle the delivery of the services. So it's parang a hand-holding process. But still, the LGU taking the lead and the national agency supporting the LGU.
Did I hear you that under the EO it provides for the withholding of the ERA funds to the LGU until they would be able to build that capacity?
Sorry sir, but hindi po mag-withhold ang national government kasi alam po natin yun na unconstitutional. The money goes to the LGU. What I'm saying is the local government that does not have the capacity yet to deliver the basic services to the minimum standards can be assisted by the specific national government agency. So may hand-holding po, hand-holding. Tutulungan po siya hanggang maging capable na siya mismo, minus the national agency, can deliver the basic services.
Okay, so it is just an assistance to those LGUs that in your judgment is not yet capable. Tutulungan po sila ng national agency. Halimbawa, kung sa agriculture, hindi wala pang capacity ang kanilang extension officers, doon kayo tutulong ang Department of Agriculture.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. That's correct.
Hindi i-remit yung corresponding ERA.
Hindi po, sir. Automatic po kasi ang ERA na bibigay sa kanila.
Alright. Okay. That's good to know. Now you mentioned that, that's why the first question I asked is, the next year at this time, we will be debating on how to source this 1,083 billion of ERA. Do you have any idea how we will source this? Do you have any program insofar as meeting this requirement imposed on the national budget by the Supreme Court is concerned?
Your Honor, studies done by the Department of Budget and Management with the Department of Finance shows that a big chunk of money can be generated from the programs of devolved agencies for service delivery. Kasi right now, sir, mayroon pa pong ginagawa ang mga national agencies that should be done already by the local government. So yung pondo po na in-allocate para doon, yung po ang kukunin para sa pagdagdag po ng internal revenue allotment. Mayroon na pong listahan na ginawa ang DBM and a certain amount, but I cannot remember the amount. There may be a little gap in terms of what may be required and what is currently available. But continuing studies are being done as to where it will be generated. I think DBM and DOF is working on the assumption that there is no fresh money for this. So this will be taken from devolved projects and services is still done by national agencies at the moment.
Yes, in simple terms, there will be a review of the devolved agencies and those functions which are still done by the national government will be now devolved to the local government in order that the issue of funding can be partially answered by that devolution, and therefore
Yes.
of the national obligation. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's correct, Your Honor. And basically, the role of the national agencies would be policy making, standard setting, technical assistance, and performance monitoring.
I agree, ma'am. That should be the role. Now, you said there is a listing, at least a preliminary listing. Can we be provided a copy of this listing of the agencies that will be devolved?
We can ask the data probably, sir, from the Department of Budget and Management kasi sila po ang gumawa ng study na ito.
Yes, okay, we realize that. So may we again request our chair, if this is in order, to request the DBM to give us a study of what will be devolved.
We'll do that, Minority Leader.
Because this is a very substantial issue.
Yes.
1.083 billion. Now, in your department, what do you think should be devolved? What should be performed by local government units instead of being performed by the department?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, we don't have basic services with us in the DILG. Primarily, we're doing local governance, capacity building, and performance management. In the current budget, we don't have really budget for basic service delivery. Wala po kaming ganon.
Okay,
In the past,
maybe what I'm referring to actually would be your attached agencies, not the DILG itself. I'll go direct to the point. Madam Undersecretary, insofar, for example, as the Bureau of Fire Protection, why should we have a national agency for Bureau of Fire Protection? Is that not a devolved, is that an agency activity that can be devolved, and the national government just set the policies, as you said, standards?
As a matter of policy, Mr. Chair, I think it's not yet ready for the devolution of the fire services to the LGUs, for the fact that we have not yet even enacted the Fire Modernization Act. Right now, we still have to manage it at the national level so that the capacity, the provision of resources to the LGUs will be assured. We are working out on the modernization of the Bureau of Fire Protection in order to be able to produce all the resources needed by the different LGUs. Mr. Chair.
Well, understandably, Mr. Secretary, since you are on the head of the organization, you have to see to it that you not ruffle the feelings of the Bureau of Fire Protection, and I expected that kind of an answer from the Secretary. But realistically, what is in the fire protection that needs that this be done on the national level with the budget charged to the national government? Why can this not be devolved?
We are still waiting for the enactment of this modernization.
I'm not talking about the instrument to devolve it. I am talking about the concept of fire prevention being in the national government and not in the local government.
It probably would be on the budget of the procurement. Getting all the budget together, we have better purchasing power of these fire trucks and other equipment. But the services later on we can devolve, and probably there will come a time that even local government can do its own procurement later on. But for 2022. my position or my opinion is we are not yet ready. I mean, the LGUs are not ready to accept the responsibility in running their own fire services, Mr. Chair.
Well, I'm sorry to disagree, Mr. Secretary, because you tell that to a mayor. I am sure that if you look at the situation on the ground, it is difficult to accept that the local government has no capacity to run fire departments. Before, Mr. Secretary, before the martial law, fire protection was under the local government units, not under, there's no national government. There is no Bureau of Fire Protection. The same situation I would attribute to the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. Today we have three penology areas. I mean detention areas. You have the city jail, you have the provincial jail, and then you have the National Beloved Penitentiary, run by the Department of Justice. The first two used to be locally run activities. Provincial jail, city jail. Now suddenly this becomes a national concern, and the local governments love this arrangement because then nababawas po sa kanilang budget ito, sa kanilang obligasyon, and it is passed on to the national government. That is to me, we should take the bull by its horn and really be serious about which devolution or which agencies can be devolved instead of paying it lip service because we are confronted with a very serious financial problem, Mr. Secretary. So from your end, I would urge you not to wait for all of this study. There is no choice. We must devolve. Otherwise, you will have a deficit that cannot be handled, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Dillon. Yes, we will include that in the agenda in the Committee on Devolution. We will put that into the table if it's possible. Now, on the plan is only the provincial jails, of course, remain with the local government. But we'll put that on the table, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Well, yes, I'm pointing that out because how much is the budget in 2021 for the BJMP?
May I refer to the Director of the BJMP, Jail Director Alan Iral, please.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the budget of the BJMP for 2021 is 19 million.
Huh?
19 billion 822,191,000 pesos.
So almost 20 billion. Almost 20 billion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And for the Bureau of Fire Protection?
Yes, Your Honor, for the Bureau of Fire Protection, the hello.
23.6 billion.
2020.
How much?
The budget for
23.6 for 2021.
yes, Your Honor.
So it's roughly 42 billion, just in round figures, between the two agencies, approximately. That's what I'm saying. We should be, there is no choice, actually, but to identify these agencies which can be devolved to the local government units in order that we can solve the burden of the 1.8 trillion additional burden to the government as a result of the bandanas. You see, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I am highlighting this because next year will be a very difficult year, or up to the end of the year, insofar as revenues are concerned. You have the pandemic, a contraction of our economy. The revenues will be much less than last year, and there will be foregone revenues under the CREATE. and the foregone revenues by our amendment of the corporate income tax would be 40 billion next year for foregone revenues and 650 billion in the next 5 years. So you now have additional foregone revenues on the one hand and additional 1.8 trillion.
If I may add, Minority Leader, you also have the second round of income tax reductions under train.
Oh, we have a second round. So I am bringing this out. I hope our national leadership listens, because we will be scrambling next year for a very difficult financial crisis, given the contraction of the economy this year and the low revenues next year, and the additional and the burden of 1,083 billion for the LGUs. That's what we are talking about. And therefore, our agencies should open their mind to the devolution of their functions to the local government unit. Otherwise, the national government may face unmanageable deficit unless you do something. There is no additional source of income, as stated, and in fact, our revenue stream will be affected by this create and other legislation that we are doing today. And that is why probably Secretary Dominguez is now saying we will have new taxes by 2021, which is not easy to do. Huh?
There is on the front page of Inquirer, Minority Leader, Secretary Dominguez, I think, said they're considering privatizing PAGCOR and PCSO, which you have been suggesting for a long time, actually.
That's correct, because that only indicates that there is a serious fiscal problem that this government is facing, and therefore a devolution of the services which should really be devolved should be taken seriously and with the political will. Otherwise, we will really have problems. So I hope I have made that point, Mr. Chairman. I'll go to
very good point. Very good point.
Some other point. Can I raise questions to General Caspulan of the PNP?
Please do, sir. Please do. He's here. He's here with us.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that one of your programs is to fill up 30,572 vacancies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, I recall that annual appropriation for new hires. What is it for the current year? What is the budget for new hires?
What's
on top of our present manpower complement.
Actually, the positions is 10,000 new positions, sir, and 2 billion is required for it.
2 billion for 10,000 positions.
Yes, sir.
You know, I have observed your budget over the years, and I cannot, it is clear that you cannot absorb and hire 10,000 new entrants every year, because right now you have 30,572 positions that will be filled up, and therefore it is clear that your yearly allocation for new hires is not being utilized. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Considering the fact that there are less applicants for every year, sir. Just like this year, we only had 7,000 recruits.
Less applicants, but you have the same budget.
For this year, sir. 1,149.
That's because of attrition.
If
Ang regular.
you have less applicants, you cannot use the budget of billion.
I stand to be corrected for this matter, sir. Actually, what I was saying was only for attrition. That was more or less 6,149, and a total number of successful applicants at 10,000. That's more or less 16,149. But for the previous years, like 2015 up to 2018, we lacked the applicants for this purpose.
Yeah.
And may I explain, sir, for fiscal year 2021,
Yes.
based on the Government Manpower Information System, or the GMIS, as of December 31, 2019, the PNP's actual strength was 193,885, with an unfilled position by rank of 30,572, with an appropriation in the amount of 15,229,003,000, which is under the administration of personnel benefits, being supervised by the DBM under 4 later release, which needs submission of special budget requests and supporting documents like appointment orders for fund release, sir. It's
With
not
those answers,
it's not
Mr.
legally, sir.
I remember the adage, confuse the enemy. I no longer understand, the data because
Yes, sir.
there's so much. Anyway, can you submit a report on that? Can
Yes,
you
sir.
submit
Yes, sir. We will, sir. We will submit the report.
Oh. I'm raising this question because police visibility is, to my mind, to my amateur mind, is a major deterrent to crime. If a citizen would see a uniformed policeman on the streets or on the sidewalk, would you agree that that is a deterrent by itself?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, the main focus right now of the 9 points agenda, as directed to us by the President and the SILG, is actually visibility. That is the main focus right now.
I don't see any, either I don't see them or they are not really there. But your statement that there is a ratio today of 1:, for every 543 Filipinos or population, I don't think that's really correct. Is that accurate?
Sir, that is the actual strength, but the authorized strength is 1:500. But when we talk about the word ideal, sir, I think it's out of the we are not able to understand what it really means, because we have personnel for administrative functions and at the same time personnel for operational functions. During this time, we are still using the formula, sir, of Senator Lacson, which is 85% out of the admin functions. 85% will go to operations, 15% will go to admin, which means to say the authorized strength actually is the actual strength actually is not 1:543, but greater, 1:800 or even 1,000 maybe, sir.
All right, so there you are. Because your 1:543 today includes administrative staff which do not really perform police operations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Very correct, sir.
The real ratio is 1:800. How much? How many?
Maybe even more, sir. Maybe even more. Maybe even more than more or less 1,000, sir. 1:1,000, really.
And the uneven distribution of policemen between urban and rural areas make this ratio worse. For example, in the NCR, I think it's more than there are localities here where the ratio is more than 1,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, sir, we are already evaluating this ideal strength, actual, and authorized strength, so that we would be able to come up also with a recommendation to the good senator.
Yes. Yes, that would be most welcome, because the ratio right now is terribly skewed by the fact that you count the administrative staff, which is 15% of your total personnel complement. And so I would really suggest to you, sir, that you review this carefully. We have always been supportive of the budget of the police, but I do not see any improvement at all insofar as this area is concerned. You still have so many vacancies. We give you the budget. Apparently, it's not being utilized. And therefore, we still see today, as you said, you suspect about 1:1,000 as a ratio, particularly probably in the NCR. So
Yes, sir.
maybe, sir, if we want to make a serious study of this problem has been there for several years, and maybe as a parting gift to your organization, you can come up with a complete study on this and provide us with a copy.
We will do, sir. We will do, and we will give you the copy, sir.
Okay, thank you. By the way, how many months will you be Chief PNP General?
My retirement, my age is of 56 is on November 10, 2020, sir, this year.
And you are, that's a 56-year-old retirement.
Sir.
You're talking about 5 weeks. My God. And the reason I'm asking this, Mr. General, is that there is a bill today in the Senate which would increase the retirement age of the military uniformed personnel. I do not know if this applies to the police, but I don't think so. Okay, I think you will. I must assert that at 56 years old, you know, the officer has so much yet to give in terms of service, and yet we retire them early. I know this. My next question might affect your credibility, but are you in favor of increasing the retirement age of the police?
The recommendation actually, sir, is 60, but we would also want to request that only the new entrants will be affected by this bill.
Yeah, but if
of course, there are a lot who would want to, but
yes,
it would be good for us, sir, for 56.
Maybe Senator Angara will be a grandfather several times before we achieve that ratio. But in the armed forces, let me tell you, in our committee hearings, they're amenable. The consensus is that we have to increase it because the 56 is really too young in other jurisdictions. It goes up to 60 and 62. So I think that is the direction that we are going. And the reason for this also, Mr. General, is that the budgetary burden on the national coffers is very heavy. Today, the budget that we put for retirement of our military uniformed personnel is bigger than the current salary of our men in the active service. This cannot continue. And the past service liabilities of the armed forces alone can be funded only to the tune of 5 trillion pesos. That's 25% more than our current national budget or the budget that we're talking about. So I'm really interested personally in how the PNP looks at this, because this is a problem that we face as a people, as a country, as a government. And you cannot look at this from an isolated point of view. May I have your comment, Mr. General?
Yes, sir. This will be re-echoed to the classes of the NPA so that we would be able to know their comment too, sir. But in as much as the PNP is concerned, we will evaluate. We will ask each class so that we would be able to give you the observations and our recommendations.
Yes, I would like that. I would like to hear that. Well, I think that is all for my part, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. We do hope to receive the literature that is promised to us by the good general. And by the way, Mr. General, you're retiring on November 10. Your constituents in Region 6 is waiting for you to make a visit and renew your acquaintances. I know you're the chief of police of, is it Sara or Concepcion? A small town in district. Huh?
I was the group director of the whole of District 5, sir, and the chief of police then of Ahuy and Balasan for concurrently. I was concurrent, chief of police for two stations.
Municipalities, and therefore, Mr. General, you know Iloilo very well because you have gone to the lowest line of command. And I'm telling you that our kababayan and our regional office number 6 of the PNP is waiting for you to make at least a farewell call before you leave so that they can be proud that somebody from the ranks rose to the highest position of the Philippine National Police. Will you consider that, Mr. General? If you don't consider, you can be assured of a reduction of your budget.
Yes, sir, of course. Yes, sir, of course. I will be visiting Iloilo soon, sir, and be making my call to you. And I daghan mabugid nga salamat, sir, for the support.
Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Minority Leader General Cascolan. So Senator Drilon does not make idle invitations nor idle threats. That's what I can say from my experience. So that completes the first round for all of our senators. But I still see some senators logged in, so I want to ask them if they have additional questions before we let go of the departments. Senator Nancy, anything? Any additional questions for?
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, siguro last na lang. For the BJMP,
Yes, please, go ahead.
yes, may data ho ba kayo kung ilan doon yung time served na pero hindi pa makalabas kasi hindi nila ma-comply yung payment as part of their
Civil liability.
Yeah, yung civil liability. May data ho ba kayo?
Yes, ma'am. We will provide you, ma'am, with the data kasi yung hawak namin yan, recapitulation lang ng sa analysis namin from January to August this year. Yung specific mo, ma'am, we will provide you with the data. We have that data, ma'am.
And if you remember, Chair, I think a few months ago, I think December ba yun or November, there was an art exhibit dyan sa second floor na nagkaroon ng fundraising. It was artworks done by the prisoners in Tagaytay.
Tagaytay, ma'am. Tagaytay, yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
kasi nga parang it's a fundraising, para maka-comply nga sila dun sa civil liability nila. May
Or
programa,
sometimes the fine is a punishment also, so it's a criminal and civil liability, Your Honor.
so like ang BJMP ba may programa kung paano matutulungan? Kasi parang this is one way of decongesting then our jails,
That's right.
di ba?
Yes.
Technically, time served na sila kaso lang yung civil liability hindi nila ma-comply. May programa ba tayo wherein we can assist them para ma-comply nga itong civil liability?
Sa lahat naman po ng jails natin, ma'am, sa buong Pilipinas, meron tayo mga paralegal officers. Itong mga paralegal officers natin, sila yung nag-assist sa ating mga PDL, sila din yung nakipag-coordinate sa courts para kung ano man yung mga pangangailangan ng PDL natin para makalaya, sila po yung tumutulong. So, ito, nakaangkla po yung programa namin sa pag-decongest ng mga jails natin sa ating mga paralegal officers. So, yun po, ma'am, sa lahat ng jails, meron po tayo mga paralegal officers na nag-assist.
Pero walang funding na...
Wala po, ma'am. Wala po, ma'am. Kung ano lang yung assist talaga in coordination with the courts, yung mga civil liability, walang funding po ang BJMP na para dun sa mga PDL natin para makalaya sila. Hindi po yan kasali sa ating pondo.
Can we get, with the indulgence of Senator Binay, can we ask the Director Iral and maybe with the help of the paralegals to submit some recommendations on decongesting our jails?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. feel that.
Go ahead, Senator Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, at the moment ba, how congested yung mga jails natin ngayon?
Currently po ma'am sa statistics natin ngayon, 335% po yung congestion rate natin sa buong Pilipinas. But dito sa NCR, kasi wala tayong mga construction ng mga facilities dito, medyo mataas po yung congestion rate dito sa NCR compared sa mga provinces o outside NCR.
I guess lahat ng jail natin congested, wala tayong hindi congested.
Yes ma'am. Although may mga newly constructed tayo pero nare-reduce na po natin yung congestion doon. Hindi ganun kataas katulad dito sa NCR. Kasi currently ma'am, sa NCR, ang may ongoing construction lang tayo, yung Quezon City at saka yung Mandaluyong City Jail. May pinapagawa po yung local government at saka yung sa Quezon City natin ongoing po.
And then for next year, ano yung programa natin para ma-solve yung problema nga natin sa congestion?
Number one po na kailangan namin ma'am yung tulong ng LGU na makapagbigay po ng lot donation kasi ang binibigay po na pondo sa atin ng DBM for construction of jail facilities ay para lang sa structure. Wala po kaming pambili ng lupa. So we rely from the support of the LGUs na makapagbigay ng lupa. Kasi pag nandyan na po yan, ma'am, nire-request na po namin sa department, sa DBM.
Pero ilang structures yung matatayo nyo?
We have 476 jail facilities nationwide, ma'am. Meron na po tayong currently, ma'am, meron na po tayong 316 na napagawa. Ito yung mga newly built jail facilities natin. So, kakulangan pa po for this year, last year at saka ngayon na year, hindi lang tayo napunduhan ng DBM. Ang napigay sa atin na pondo ay yung yung perimeter fences. But we proposed 72 new jail buildings and additional cells sana for 2021.
And for next year, wala kayong budget for new jail cells?
Perimeter fences lang po ma'am yung naibigay namin ng Department of Budget and Management for the construction of perimeter fences. Para yung mga natapos namin na jail na ready for occupancy ay magagamit na po namin once na mapagawa namin ang perimeter fences.
Senator Julon, you're raising your hand.
After Senator Bina,
Siguro, Mr. Chair, baka mahanapan naman natin ng pondo dahil, kung hindi natin popondohan yung construction of new jail cells for next year, hindi tayo makakahabol at masosolve yung problema natin sa congestion.
Right.
Yun lang,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Bina. Senator Julon, go ahead.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on the issue raised by Senator Binay, this validates my proposal that we should default this activity. Because look, do you think a local executive can afford not to build jails if he sees that his jail is congested? That's basic. He's interested in a mayor would be interested in being re-elected. If the issue against him is his congested jail, and that is his responsibility, I can assure you that he will do it. We do not have to plead with the national budget to include allocations for facilities when you're competing with 1,001 other concerns of the budget. And I tell you, the facilities of the jail is not in the top priority of this government. I can assure you that, because there are so many needs. But if you let the local government be responsible for this, nakikita ng tao yan. Ako sa tao, sasabihin nila yung kulungan natin parang sa kabayo, nakatayo yung mga nakakulong para makatulog lamang. So that's to me, if you think about it, to serve better our citizens under detention or deprived of liberty, if you decongest the jail, and the only way you can decongest the jail is to devolve this to the LGU, and with sufficient funding, 1 trillion. They will be having cash in their hands, which they do not know what to do. And
Sendri, one question. Do we need to amend the local government code for that?
I cannot answer that straight, but maybe. But if we have to, we should. I don't recall, Mr. Chair, but this is a valid proposition. Very simple.
Sensible, very sensible, very sensible.
A provincial governor, pag makita ng mga butante niya, natutulog na nakatayo yung kanilang mga kababayan. Think about it. He will insist and allocate money. You force them to allocate money. So move this bias in favor of national budgeting because of the 1,001 concerns of the national government that must be budgeted, and activities like jail facilities is at the bottom. That's my point. And we have 1 year to do it because the Bandanas Group will be effective February 1 of 2022. Just one final point, Mr. I hope that that is taken seriously by the committee, seriously by our DILG, because we have to put our heads together. I might be in the opposition, but isa lang naman ang bansa natin. Pagdating sa mga ganitong bagay, hindi po pwedeng and let it rock in the way it should. It does today. Just one final point. I am looking at the COA report for 2019. From the COA report, it would appear that PNP, Philippine National Police, transferred 1.3 billion in 2016. 1,347,000,000 was transferred by PNP to the Philippine International Trading Corporation for a purchase of equipment. But the finding of the COA is that 1.036 billion out of the 1.3 remains undelivered as of the end of 2019. May we know the situation? This is criminal. You are asking us for budget for capital equipment. You delivered to PITC 1,347,000,000 in 2016. As of the end of 2019, there is still a balance of 1,036,000,000 in undelivered worth of equipment. Can we have your comment on this, Mr. Director?
Sir, with regard to the undelivered equipment by PITC, the funds transferred to PITC calendar year 2016 amounting to 1.347 billion had been little, sir, because it has only delivered a total of 311.068 worth of equipment in calendar year 2019, leaving 1.236 billion still undelivered for more than 3 years. We actually reiterated our recommendation that management of national headquarters require the DL to demand the immediate delivery of all the remaining equipment. Otherwise, demand from PITC to refund the total advance payments or any all unused balance from completed projects and interest for deposit to the National Treasury. On November 14, 2019, representative from Accounting Division of the Directorate for Controllership, PNP, together with the Chief SMD and all others involved, met with PITC personnel and discussed the status of the said unliquidated fund transferred as reflected in the attached summary of project status report prepared by the PITC. As per summary of project status report, a total approved budget for the contract amounting to 316 million, more or less, consisting of 141 units light machine gun, with ABC of more or less 154 million, and 8 units light machine gun 5.56 with ABC of more or less 5.4 million. And others has already been awarded and delivered and now awaiting issuance of certificate of acceptance. The accounting division is now coordinating with the Directorate for the Logistics on the submission of the certificate of acceptance for the liquidation of the said equipments that were delivered. Also, sir, coordination extends to the remaining unliquidated balances in adherence to the recommendation to expedite the delivery of all remaining equipment.
Oh, yeah.
That's all, sir.
Yes, this is disappointing. You are asking for budget year in and year out to purchase equipment, and this is a 4-year-old allocation of 1.3 billion for capital spending and only 300 million after 4 years has been delivered. Mr. General, I'm too old in the bureaucracy to accept the coordination kind of thing as a solution. The coordination usually results in nothing because you just coordinate. May we have a timetable as to when you can either recover the amounts you delivered to PTIC, to PITZ, or have the equipments delivered? We cannot leave this hanging. There's still over 1 billion in undelivered equipment.
Sir, the delivered was already more or less 627 million. Another for procurement is more or less 593 million. The General Likup, who is now the Director for Controllership, and the Director for Logistics is General Casimiro, is going to PITC to coordinate and be able to get the undelivered equipment.
All right. I will not tarry any further. Can you submit to the committee and copy furnish this representation a written timetable on so that we can the PNP can either recover the balances of equipment not purchased or have the equipment delivered to the PNP. This neglect is criminal.
We will, sir. We will do that, sir, and we will comply as soon as possible.
Yes. So I would expect that, Mr. Yeah. All right, Mr. Chairman. That's it. I promise you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
So your promise to me, Mr. General, I'm going to say your good news to your kababayans in the region.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from our colleagues who are still logged in? If there are none, we'll thank the Secretary, Secretary Anyo, and his undersecretaries who helped answer, and the heads of agencies, PNP Chief, and the other heads. Salamat sa inyo for presenting and answering our questions, and we will favorably endorse your budget to the plenary, subject to possible augmentations as suggested by our colleagues. So, salamat, Secretary Anyo. Would you like to say anything before we finish?
Well, first of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the chairman and the honorable members of this committee for favorably endorsing our budget, and we'd like also to thank for the opportunity given to us to answer and clear the issues presented. Maraming pong salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Salamat, Secretary, and just a reminder to the various agencies for the requests of our senators. Salamat po, and good afternoon. Thank you to all of you, to our colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Secretary Anyo and the DILG family and the attached agencies, and of course to our hardworking staff in the Senate who are assisting us. Salamat po. Good afternoon.
Thank you po.